self-respect. Reputation destroyed by what you can expect to be. The ceaseless in between. Because I know you can handle it. To face the truth of the matter, it's still so much better to leave the light than drag it to your grave. Because you see what to make of this. How you can turn your own tables and work this. And take advantage of your failure like you play.
This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
And here we go.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Break the Bell Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the live edition of the Break the Bell Podcast.
Hello, beautiful bell breakers. It seems like it has been forever.
It has, because I forgot about the weekend wrap up on the weekend. Like, you texted me like Sunday. I had thought about it Saturday and Friday, and then Sunday came around and I was busy doing shit. And then 6:30 rolls around. I just put on a movie with the kids, and you text, you're like, "Are we doing this or what?" And I was like, "Shit, no, we're not going this week." So if y'all were looking forward to the weekend wrap up, and yesterday, I apologize.
I was getting shit like all day. Are you podcasting today? Yeah.
You're like,
Why?
yeah,
Why do you have to podcast? Well, because it's Sunday. We didn't do it last weekend.
So how did she take the news when you told her, "Just kidding, we're not
I
podcasting"?
think she thanked Jesus.
She was probably praying for the whole time.
She
like,
probably. Her prayers seem to work.
Yeah, she prays for
in cold
snow.
weather.
She prays for cold, and then it happens when you guys are out of town because she's kind of an asshole like that. She's like, "I just pray that it's just super cold as we go
Blizzard
down,
whiteout conditions.
as we go down to Alabama and enjoy the 80-degree temperatures down there. You guys enjoy the cold." And then you guys come back and it's been like 40 and 50 since you got back. And then yesterday she's like, "Oh, please let there be no podcast." And
no podcast.
No podcast.
I needed her to like pray for like $1 million or something.
Right. Have her pray for something that's actually
practical.
Not snow, not me to forget about podcasts. But I apologize to anybody that may have been looking forward to that or may not have been looking forward to that. We will get back on track. New Year's is kind of the holidays kind of like thrown us off a little bit. Like I said, it's been we're going on 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. We haven't really taken a break. So
That's true.
This holiday season was kind of our first like prolonged break. So getting back in the flow of it is kind of weird.
Yeah.
So but we're gonna get back. I promise you. It might take another 12 months to do so, but we will get there.
We'll get back to the level of excellence you've gotten used to
by next Christmas.
Yeah, right.
So how's everybody doing out there? It is another fun-filled Monday night. If you are listening in, thank you for taking time away from whatever it is, your families, your loved ones, to listen to us. Preferably bring your loved ones and your family with, because this is family entertainment at the highest level. I mean, it's clean, mostly.
Well,
it's definitely inspirational, slightly
entertaining,
definitely mostly entertaining and hilarious, and that's mostly it. So if you haven't, make sure you invite your friends and your families and everybody to join in on the live fun here, because the more the merrier. We enjoy it. So if you're listening, go down and find the like button, the subscribe button. If you're watching, like, subscribe. On YouTube, it's like right down here somewhere down here. I haven't practiced. There's a subscribe button, a like button, and a share button. You can do all three of those while you're listening. So go like, subscribe, share, all that fun, happy shit we tell you to do every week, so we can get our names in front of more and more people
Yes.
into more and more ear holes, which is what we want. Shannon's here. Shannon's in the comments.
Hey, Shannon.
Shannon says the new year caught us by surprise. Caught you by surprise, huh? Like it doesn't happen every 12 months. Shannon,
Wow.
we're men, all right?
Wow.
We don't plan ahead,
That's right.
okay?
We don't even plan like behind.
Yeah, I mean, the most I plan ahead for is the Christmas special, and
Yeah.
I plan ahead for that 12 months in advance.
Yeah.
And then this year, like I said, it hit, and then it's just like, now what? Because
right.
like that, I mean, that was taking up all my brain space at the time.
Yeah.
So it's taking a bit to get back into the flow
Yeah.
of things. So we will get back there, though. I don't know what I just did, but I just made things go away.
Which I felt good. Like when I was gone, like I had several family members be like, "Oh yeah, we listen to you when we travel, or we listen to you."
I'm
guys."
sorry.
Yeah, right, right. And like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And then my dad, when he told me the guest we were having when I came back, the gentleman from Michigan, I was like, oh, that's cool. And my dad's like, what's that? And I said, oh, we're having this guest who may be implicated in the kidnapping of the Michigan governor. And he's like, oh, great.
That was a good episode.
I like that episode.
We interviewed last week. If you missed last week's episode interview, we had on Brandon Caserta of the quote unquote Wolverine Watchman, which, as he said, is an extremely gay,
It really
super
is,
gay
yeah.
name. And he was accused of being one of the lead plotters in the Gretchen
Yes.
Whitmer kidnapping plot, and he was acquitted. And now he is telling a story about how he kind of got screwed over. Major setup, the FBI major like entrapment and shit like that. So if you didn't catch it, go back and listen to that
Good
episode.
stuff.
It's really good. It was a great way to kick off the
Yeah.
year. I've been keeping in touch with Brandon this week, and I even told him, I messaged him, I'm like, you know what, you got a lot of things to say, you should start your own podcast.
Yeah, right?
And then I was like, wait, then everybody will just go
Right.
listen to him, not us. But
don't go on Mondays.
so be on the lookout for that. He may or may not
Yeah.
start his own podcast, and
I can see it.
I would definitely be a subscriber of that. So first and foremost, listen to us, but then go check out Brandon Concerta and everything he does too. So yeah, this week, Shannon says you sound better, Bill. Oh, you sounded a bit robotic, I guess.
I sounded robotic?
Yeah, remember we get kind of glitchy
with
at
the
times.
glitch.
So yeah,
No, I
sorry.
thought she meant me personally.
Well, you just sound like shit all the
Well,
time. That's why I kind of keep you turned down as much as possible. This week, just yesterday, it was weird. It was like flooding the news headlines. Like I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
looking for shit to talk about, and it was like every headline was talking about it. It was basically a reenactment of January 6th, but it was like the Spanish channel. What's the Spanish channel?
Telemundo.
Telemundo is Telemundo's reenactment
Was it like
of January
even
6th.
more dramatic? Like no, Jose.
I'm pretty sure, but yeah, it was just like Spanish voiceover of the January 6th that we experienced 2 years ago. They experienced their January 6th on what was
January
yesterday?
9th.
January 9th. So it doesn't ring off the tongue.
It really doesn't.
Like 1-9
J6, J9.
Yeah, it just
yeah.
well, it'd be hey. I want to be like hey
Oh
night
yeah, right.
because it's Spanish. Hey nuevo or nueve,
Nueve,
right? Yeah, it's
nueve.
hey nueve.
Yeah.
It even rhymes.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Hey,
does
nueve.
sound better.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe they're like
Telemundo's got it.
they do. They worked on the rhymes. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about
Although they do, it's Portuguese in Brazil.
it's got to be close to the same.
I'm sure
though.
it's close.
It's got to be similar. It's like Portuguese is like knockoff Spanish.
Yeah,
it's
basically.
like it's like Wish app Spanish.
Yeah,
So I don't know even know what I'm
This is the
saying.
Spanish I ordered.
In Brazil yesterday, there was an insurrection on state capitals, but like federal
Yes.
Federal
Supreme
buildings.
Court, Congress building,
Yeah.
presidential
headquarters or
thingy.
yeah. And it was all inspired by this like contested election with
Yes.
heavy push, like speculation of voter fraud,
Right.
like voting machine malfunctions,
Right, yeah.
everything
Yeah.
that we experienced in 2020.
Yes.
It
It was
it's,
like almost exact.
yeah, it's like a knockoff. Like
the only
total
difference
knockoff.
is like Balansaro like went to America first before it happened.
Yeah,
So
he left before it.
Yeah.
He
he was like,
and we'll
"Fuck
get
this."
we'll get into the
Yeah.
shit, but I feel like he learned from Donald
Yeah,
Trump.
right. He
He's
knew
like,
what was coming.
first of all, I'm gonna shut my mouth.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'm not even gonna be in the country
Yes.
when this happens.
And
so-
they're still blaming him for it.
oh, of course, obviously. And they're probably
and Trump.
I was gonna say they're probably blaming Trump too.
Shannon's blowing us
Shannon,
up.
yeah, well, Shannon says we're still glitching out. I
What the hell?
apologize, Shannon. We make it work though. So hopefully this holds together because I got new internet hoping it would work better than the
That's
old
right.
internet.
Yes.
So we'll see if it's doing worse then. I haven't had any issues with it thus
Okay.
far, but I also haven't live streamed since I got it.
Right,
So
right.
if things don't work out, I still got the old router in there I can
There you
plug
go.
into
Yeah, tell the kids to
halftime.
like disconnect.
I do
turn
that
off
anyway.
the TV.
I
Oh,
did
okay,
that
okay.
for for the Christmas special because we had
Oh,
so
okay.
many guests and stuff coming on. I bribed them. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
shut off the internet, please. I will give you I don't even remember what I gave them, but I was like, I will give you money to not be on the internet for the next 2.5 hours.
I remember when we first started and it would start lagging and like you'd text your wife and you'd be like, tell the kids to get off.
Get off now. Yes. So that's what we are going to be talking about is the Spanish knockoff of our
Yes.
January 6th
January.
insurrection. It's
If-
the
January.
Brazilian
Yes.
insurrection, which probably is more beautiful anyway.
Probably,
So,
yes.
I mean,
yes.
probably more beautiful people. So
Yes.
that's what we get to look forward to, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And would you believe that there's possibly some WEF connections with this whole scenario going on?
Absolutely. I believe that.
I mean, there's got to be.
Yes.
There's
yes.
just got to be. I mean, anything bad that happens, just like, all right, what's the World Economic Forum's
Yes.
connection?
I'm sure
to this?
they're the ones that fixed the election.
Mm-hmm. They fixed the election, then probably the National Endowment for Democracy
Yes. Swung in there and
trained up the
Yes.
protesters,
Yeah.
and then Foreign Affairs
Yes.
wrote some.
they probably put Lula in there. They're like, we got this guy. He's kind of an asshole. You're not going to like him, but he's our guy.
Obviously, yes.
And
So-
Nazis.
That's what we're going to talk about. Before we get into it, like I said, make sure you check us out all over the social medias. Share us far and wide across the interwebs as far as you can, because we love you for it so much more than we already do, which is a lot. Anyways, make sure you check out our website where you can find links to everything at www.breakthebellpod.com. You can find links to our social media, which is the handle at breakthebellpod. You can also find links to our web store, where you can buy awesome shirts like the I Won't Eat Your Bug shirt, the We Are Not Your Pawns shirt, some logo merchandise, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So check that out. Like I said, that's breakthebellpod.com. Support us more than just listening to us, which is the main thing we want you to do. Listen to us first, and then if you kind of like us a little bit, support us a little more if you feel it in your happy hearts to do so. So breakthebellpod.com. I think I'm ready to get into this.
Let's do it.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the Brazilian insurrection. We'll be back.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What did you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, baby.
What did you just say?
What did you say?
You listen to me. You talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Still trying to get our what the hell now?
We have an echo.
Now we have an echo. Hang on. I will fix that too.
You're just projecting authority.
How about now?
Echo? Nope, we're good.
We're good. Still having technical difficulties because I'm still going to blame it on the new year.
I would too.
It's the new year, or it's the feds, one of the two.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter.
They're
It's-
watching us now.
Yeah, probably. But thanks to Brandon's episode last week, the feds are on to us. Remember how many times he got just kicked from
I
the stream?
know.
He'd be
Yeah.
like, that guy was a bitch. And then all of a sudden we'd lose him from the stream. It's just
Right.
like, they don't like you calling him a bitch, Brandon.
That's the guy.
So, Bill, did you Had you heard about this Brazilian? You got Brazilian connections, don't you? Besides
bit,
the
yeah.
Brazilian wax you get every once
well,
a
that's
month.
the big one.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you
I
got
have some friends down in Brazil.
yeah. How is it that you have friends in Brazil?
From high school.
Okay, they just moved to Brazil, or were they
No,
like foreign
they're
exchange
foreign
students?
exchange
or-
student.
So now, if you heard this paragraph right here in a news article yesterday, a nationalist president who's also quote unquote anti-establishment, opposed to immigration, lost his re-election bid to a working class, quote unquote working class candidate who is also accused of money laundering. And the election was heavily contested. A lot of voter fraud and voter machine failures and stuff like that going on, which led to mass protests and the storming of federal buildings. Would you think we maybe flash back to 2020?
Yes. I would think that maybe this was like the TV special version.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, this, I mean, it sounds all too familiar. It's
Yeah.
kind of ridiculous how familiar it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that it's real, or like not just a Shannon keeps telling us that it's worse and it's better and it's worse and better. Shannon, if it gets unbearable, let me know and I'll pause and go swap our internet connection real quick. But where was I going with this? Shannon, you threw me through a loop. It's getting hard to believe that these things are actually organically formed,
Right.
when it's just like such cookie cutter,
Yeah.
like the same thing happening over and over. It's like, yeah, this just organically happened.
Right.
This protest that it's just like before it used to be. It's just like, oh, that kind of seems familiar, but now it's just like the same exact playbook,
Right.
but
Yeah.
thrown to Brazil. It's like, here, this worked for us. Here, take it down there. Try it out and see if it works.
Yeah.
Almost makes me wonder, like, if the former president there that got voted out, if he was like, this kind of like pushing this whole narrative of election fraud and stuff, it seemed to kind of almost work up there.
Right.
So maybe I'm going to try it down here. It might work
Yeah.
better down here for us. So, because I think he started like accusing voter, like kind of raising concerns about the voter machines a couple months prior to the election. He's like, we gotta really worry about these voter machines, like kind of leading up to it.
Yeah.
So that when it happens, he can be like, I told you about voter
And I
machines.
had seen that. So they did a first like election, right? That was like the guy was up like 48 and he was up like 42 or at 42%.
Mhm.
And so then they did a runoff. And so then this guy, he won. It was like 50.9% that he won.
So like barely,
Just
kind of
like,
barely
just
won. But
barely,
yeah,
just enough for someone to be like, wait, what?
Beto is here. Beto says
Beto.
January is Insurrection Month.
Woo! Yeah.
It seems to be. It's just like it's New Year.
Yeah.
It's a new year, guys. Where are we gonna have another insurrection? What did we have a 2022 insurrection? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. We're gonna have to start something annually though.
Yeah, an insurrection party every year, and
Yeah.
new country, new place. It's
Yes.
kind of like the World Cup or the
Yes,
Olympics. We
yes.
just move it around.
Watch our
each year.
site. We'll let you know where it's happening.
Yes.
Bring your V for Vendetta mask.
Obviously, we're not talking about January 6th when we bring up all this stuff, but
Yeah.
when we tell these stories, just separate from the two, because we are talking about Brazil, not
Mhm.
Washington D.C. 2020. Because I mean, surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, it's very, very similar.
Yeah. And even it's amazing how the media has tried to portray the former president of Brazil, Bolsonaro,
Yeah.
to Trump, and just especially in their COVID responses. It's
Does he have like an orange tuft of hair and like an orange tan too, or a yellow tuft of hair and
yes,
orange tan?
he's got a nice tan.
Does he?
So yes.
So see, I don't know what's going on with all these leaders, but the ones that are very right opposing, or right leaning, seem to be of that kind of mold. Because
Yes.
remember, what was the PM from the prime minister from Britain? You remember?
Oh yeah.
God, I can't think of his name, but he looked like
Yeah.
a knockoff of Trump with
He did,
worse
yeah.
hair. And he was very much a nationalist too. We did
Yeah.
an episode about him too.
That's why I'm surprised we can't
Yeah,
remember.
I don't know. I talk about too many people and
Yeah.
too many things, and I just don't care about those people.
Yeah, well,
that much.
they're a drop in the bucket anymore.
Yeah,
they go through 'em
exactly.
so
That I
quickly.
mean, yeah, that was like 2 months ago.
Yeah,
news.
right.
Who cares about that
Yeah.
shit?
And then they had a chick in between, and yeah.
Well, what I find about interesting about this here, and we'll get into it a little bit, is like I said yesterday, every single news site that
Mhm.
was the top headline was this Brazil insurrection,
Oh,
like
yeah.
storming of their Capitol buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And then today you go back to those same news sites, and there's nothing on like the first 2
Huh.
pages or something. It's almost like it's just like disappearing. It's
Yeah.
like disappearing as quickly as it came,
Right.
and that makes me
Yeah.
like before I was just like, this ain't really that big of a
Yeah.
deal. It's just a copycat of January 6th.
Right.
But then when it just like kind of disappears, it's just
Mhm.
like, dude, what the fuck just happened?
I was reading an article from Al Jazeera about it, and the reactions of the world leaders about
Mhm.
this, and it was just like,
Yeah, there's all these reactions,
Yeah.
and they're all giving like these paragraph
Yeah.
sentences or like quotations and stuff, and then it's like Biden called it outrageous.
Yeah. Right.
That's outrageous, man.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Where's my ice cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, it. I don't know. We'll get into
Yeah.
all that shit, but first, I guess let's just talk about the act.
Okay.
Let's start there.
The day of.
Yeah, let's
Hey,
start at the day
nueve.
of. We're gonna build like some backstory.
Yeah.
We're gonna build some character development and shit like
Okay,
that.
I
But
like
let's
it.
start the day of. The
All
best
right.
movies start like that.
Yes. That's true.
Make sure we confuse people with all
Yeah,
the
we don't want to
flashbacks
do
and
like
stuff.
a Guy Ritchie, Lock, Stock, and Two Barrels style. You know,
Mhm.
I guess you're wondering how I got here.
We will
Yes.
do that though, but we won't have the music that lets you know we're going to
Yeah.
flashbacks, so we're just gonna really confuse you. But we'll try to not confuse you as much as possible. So this is from DW.com. It says Bolsonaro supporters storm the National Congress. So this was actually yesterday. So 1/8. That's not even today's the nueve.
Is it? Yeah, today's the.
So yesterday was
Nueve
8.
yesterday,
So oh
though?
my gosh. Yeah.
Oh.
So but
Oh,
it was yesterday
it
that
doesn't
it took
even rhyme
place.
then.
No, it doesn't even
Oh,
rhyme
man.
now.
Hey, Ocho.
That just ruins everything.
It
So
does. All right, good job.
January
Good
8th,
job.
2023. Sounds so boring now.
Yeah, so dumb.
Hundreds of supporters of Brazil's former president have stormed seats of political, judicial, and legislative power. See, that's
Yeah.
what they did better. They
Yes.
didn't just
They hit
storm the
three
Senate.
branches.
They hit all
Yes.
3 at the same time to like a kind of like a trifecta.
Yeah, no,
You-
that is better planning.
Maybe more effective, maybe
They
worse.
learned.
I don't know.
They learned.
Yeah, they took our playbook and they like
Yes.
made some changes
Yeah.
and stuff. And like, well, how can we do this so much better?
Mhm.
President Lula has declared a federal intervention with thousands of troops on standby in Brasilia or Brazil. Federal intervention is a polite way of saying martial law.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, they say federal intervention a lot. It's just like, yeah, we're going to declare,
Yeah.
we're just going to like have some federal intervention here. No, it's like, hey, we're going to go shoot up and gas a bunch of
Yeah,
people.
right.
That's
Yeah.
what's
We're
going to
gonna,
happen.
you know,
Mass
take
arrests.
the hose.
Yes. After hours of chaos, Brazilian police have retaken the National Congress building after pro-Bolsonaro protesters stormed the premises. Police are still in the process of clearing rioters from the Supreme Court headquarters and Planalto Presidential Palace. Brazil's Chief Justice Rosa Weber on Sunday, that doesn't sound Brazilian,
Not at
Weber,
all. Weber.
said the country's Supreme Court will work to ensure that the terrorists are made an example of. That sounds ominous.
No doubt.
gonna make
like
an
hanging
example.
from the bridge.
Right. Like
freaking Bane.
specifics, please.
Yeah.
Supporters of the former Brazilian president, Jair, how do you pronounce that? Jair. We're just going to call him Jair.
Yes.
Jair Bolsonaro, because we're American, stormed the National Congress building in Brazil earlier on Sunday. Hundreds of people invaded the building, calling for military intervention to overthrow President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. That's a fucking mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
I would call myself President Lula, too, if my
Yes.
name was President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
Why not go President Da Silva though? Why Lula?
I mean, it just sounds more like people. He's
Yeah.
a man, every man's
man of the
man.
people.
Yeah, he's a man of the
Okay.
people. He's
All right.
he's like an everyman Joe.
Yeah.
So
All right.
he's just Lula. And my mouse died. Nothing's working tonight. Supporters of the former president refused to accept that the populist autocrat lost his bid for re-election, claiming the election was stolen. Hardcore supporters have even openly called for a military coup in order to put him back in charge, with some seeking to sow chaos through vandalism and violent attacks in hopes of triggering a military response.
You know what's ironic about that
Huh.
is Bolsonaro is well known for the fact that he lowered the crime rate in Brazil.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's like one of his accolades. So
Yeah.
like right away, he come in and he's just like, "We're gonna lower the." But he was like heavy into federal intervention too.
Right.
Like he's one.
Well, he
we'll get
jumped
into
like 5 or 6 different political parties.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we're gonna get into all that. So,
Yeah.
Bolsonaro condemned the pillaging and invasion of public buildings after hundreds stormed Brazilian institutions. So he's kind of like Trump. When Trump got on Twitter, he's like, "Guys, this is a bad idea. I just know I did not tell you to do this, but Trump strong. Yeah, make America great."
Yeah.
He rejected what he called Lula's baseless accusations that he incited the unrest. So it says here, footage shared on social media showed hundreds of people pouring into National Congress buildings. The protesters were met with police tear gas. A Brasilia-based reporter shared a video on Twitter purportedly showing the protesters storming the building. So let's see if this will let me play this. Now, if you notice the difference here,
Yes.
there's no red velvet
Rope for
ropes
them to
that
walk
people are
through,
staying
yes.
between. They actually broke you see broken
Yeah.
glass everywhere
Yeah.
there. They actually stormed the building.
Yeah, they're
not-
actually doing it the right way.
they they didn't have police like moving barricades for them
right.
to walk in
Yeah.
like tourists
Walking with flashlights, be like, okay, follow me, guys. Follow
Yeah.
me.
but
Watch the
yeah,
pictures.
this one they're like, let's at least make it look like
Yeah,
we
right.
broke
Let's-
into
let's
the building.
Break some shit.
Says another journalist shared a video purportedly showing the protesters as they tried to break the windows of the National Congress building. The group crossed a police barrier and climbed the ramp that gives access to the roof of the Chamber of Deputies and Senate buildings. Protesters wearing yellow and green t-shirts and Brazilian flags attacked some of the police vehicles securing the building. It would be funny if at first they're like, we should all be wearing like American flags when we go in, and they're like, wait, maybe that's too much like January.
right.
6th. Maybe we should wear Brazilian flags. Brazilian flags. That you got it. You got it.
Can I still have a star?
Brazilian media reported the army had stationed 2,500 troops in Brazil ahead of the possible declaration of a guarantee of law and order by the president, which would authorize the use of troops in the case of a security crisis. The protesters attempted to enter Planalto Palace, which serves as the seat of government, news agencies reported. Videos on social media appear to show them inside. I'm not going to show all the videos because we're going to really lose our internet really quick. A video shared on social media showed a man draped in a Brazilian flag holding what appeared to be a copy of the Brazilian Constitution taken from the Federal Supreme Court. The original copy, ratified in 1988, is held at the court. So he's holding a copy. They're like, oh my gosh, he's holding
Like
a copy.
you can buy at the tourist
Yeah,
station.
probably. That's probably where he got it. He's like,
Yeah.
he's holding the Constitution taken from the federal a copy.
Yeah.
Yes, taken from the federal building gift shop. Federal intervention is declared.
That's a nice way.
Lula has, I like how they don't even call him President Lula.
I
It's
know,
just
just
Lula.
Lula.
Sounds like a
Yes.
cartoon character.
It does.
Lula has condemned the invasion of Brazil's seat of power and vowed to hold those responsible accountable. We will find out who these vandals are, and they will be brought down with the full force of the law, Lula said from the southeast city of Araraquara, while on a visit to the flood-hit region. Lula signed a decree declaring federal intervention in Brasilia, which grants government special powers to restore law and order in the capital. They're so flowery about it. It's just like, declared federal intervention to restore special powers, granting special powers. Yeah. Just opening the door right up to martial law. I don't know what martial law in Brazil is like, but I
can't imagine it's good.
I can't imagine it's. as good as martial law in the United States, which we've come to the conclusion is really fucking bad.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's probably so much worse than that. It says the president of the Senate said police were focused on containing the situation. In a post on Twitter, he said he vehemently repudiates the anti-democratic acts and called for a judicial response.
That's funny because I think that's very democratic.
I mean, in our opinion, yes, but in most,
I know.
In the other side's opinion, that is domestic terrorism.
But it's funny because like a lot of like from what I'd seen from like a lot of like European or South American, they were like, this is fascism.
Right.
It's like it doesn't really seem like fascism. Now going into government intervention, that sounds like
that's
fascism.
more fascist than the people trying to overthrow what they see as
an injustice.
Yes. Yeah, fascism has nothing to do with the people trying to. Fascism has to do with leaders just shutting down their voice altogether and being like, "No, this is the law, bitch." That's fascism. And who sounds more like they're saying, "No, this is the law, bitch"? The current President Lula. So this is where it talks about world leaders condemning the invaders. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who has no say in this whatsoever because this isn't U.S. national security at all.
Yes.
No part in this at all. Said the U.S. condemns any effort to undermine democracy in Brazil. President Biden is following the situation closely, and our support for Brazil's democratic institutions is unwavering.
They cut to Biden, and he's like eating ice cream.
U.S. President Biden's Joe Biden called the situation outrageous.
Wow, that's very presidential.
That's it. He's probably like,
President, can we get a word? Outrageous.
That's outrageous. In Mexico, so we got the Mexican president calling it reprehensible and anti-democratic, coming from Mexico. Right. French President Emmanuel Macron tweeted, so it's official,
of course.
The will of the Brazilian people and the democratic institution must be respected. President Lula can count on France's unwavering support. Now, that seems kind of ironic there because he says the will of the Brazilian people must be respected. Now, which Brazilian people?
Right.
Because there's a lot of Brazilian people that their will is to not have Lula as president.
Exactly.
So to say the will of the people must be respected, but we're going to support Lula.
Yeah.
Again, it was, excuse me, it was 51-50, 50 and a half to 49 and a half.
Small.
Super close.
Yeah.
Super close. And I mean, that if you throw in any room for doubt of any sort of like voter irregularities, that could flip immediately. So you can say, well, we got to respect the voters have spoken. We got to, I feel at least in the very least when it's that close and there's these calls and there's, we'll get into it. They're talking like 60% of the voter machines that they're talking had some kind of irregularities. At least step back and be like, maybe after seeing what happened in the United States, step back and be like, maybe let's pretend to give a shit at least.
Right.
Maybe
let's
just be
at
like,
least look over things.
Yeah. They're like, y'all get right on that. Nope, no proof of voter fraud. Like, at least make it look like
right, like you care.
Attempted,
And then people will be like, oh, okay, well, thanks for looking into it.
Yeah, right. And that's kind of that's exactly what we said back in 2020. We're like, I don't know, but at least make it look like you give a shit.
Yeah.
That's what I think was it Ted Cruz was like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with this, but it's our responsibility to respect the people's concerns,
right,
and maybe at least address their concerns. And
it's the one thing that people actually have the illusion that they have some kind of control over in our
is voting,
whether we do or not,
which we don't.
At
We
least
know
the
we
illusion
don't.
is there. I know.
They made that very clear that we don't,
especially
back in 2020. But no, we don't. But yeah, it seems like here it was basically the same thing. It's like, fuck no, there's no room. I mean, they didn't present a good enough case and not enough evidence or whatever.
Right.
And but inside, I mean, you're talking October till now, and such a short time. How much of a look have they actually taken into it? So I don't know. I'm kind of the assumption that all voting is fucking rigged at this point anyway. So all this is just a bunch of noise to get people. I think the protests are intentional.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
I think they want the people to get all out of sorts and stuff, so they can implement these federal what do they call them? Federal interventions.
Yes.
And they can implement they can make changes to like constitutional rights as they see necessary. And we had said that back in 2020. It's like now they can turn around and be like, you know what, we're going to slap another what was the bill from 2001? The Homeland Security Act.
Patriot Act.
Yeah, it did. We can rebolster the Patriot Act to take away even more privacy, even more rights because of these protests and stuff. So I am disillusioned to the fact that voting even does anything anyway. So when all these protests erupt, I feel like they're pushed to that point, because I think it probably would be less unsettling to just be like, dude, your vote don't count anyway, than to be like, your vote, that was voter fraud, and everybody's like, what the fuck? But if somebody's like, none of the votes count, it's just like, what's the point anyway?
The whole world didn't want him to be president, guys, so we're moving on.
Yeah, exactly. So what'd you think when you saw all this shit? So
I thought it was crazy, because the first thing I saw of it is like, you sent me like a meme, and then you're like, look, they even have their own shaman.
Yes.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, they have,
like, that can't be right.
Yes, they do. Right here, this is the Brazilian shaman, but I did look further into this. This wasn't from yesterday. This was a picture from a pro Bolsonaro protest from like 2021.
What other way to trigger people, though, right?
Yes. So that's why I made this the cover photo for our episode, to trigger people, because that's what we do. That's what we like to do. So the shaman is real. The Brazilian shaman is real.
Yes.
But it wasn't from yesterday, as far as what people are saying.
Well, that's disappointing.
I know, it really is. But I had to like kind of fact check myself, I guess.
Yeah. No,
So
that's good you did.
So we got to fill in the backstory now. We got today's event, or yesterday's events. They stormed the building. I mean, things were broken, graffiti, vandalization,
art torn down, and they did 3 buildings.
And they did steal the fake copy of the Constitution
from the tourist center.
So we got kind of the groundworks of what happened yesterday. So we got to get some backstory. We've got 2 main characters in this, which is Jair, which is what I'm calling him, former President Jair Bolsonaro, and newly elected President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, which took up more than one line on my page here to write. So
we call him Lula.
We're going to call him Lula. So who do you want to start with first? Do you want to start with Lula or Jair?
Let's start with the old guy,
Jair?
Bolsonaro. Jair.
Okay, we're going to start with Bolsonaro first. This is taken from the great Wikipedias. Obviously, I can't get through like 80 pages of this guy.
Right.
Jair, former President Bolsonaro. He was a retired military officer, former politician. He served as the 38th president from 2019 to 2022. It's funny. He's a super right-wing conservative from what it sounds like. But he ran on the Social Liberal Party platform.
I saw that. That's really interesting.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's not like he's just like, I'm going to fool them. I'm going to make them think I'm a liberal and then switch. No, like his entire life, he has been like pro-life, pro traditional marriage, pro or anti-abortion, pro-life, anti-immigration,
pro-police, pro-army,
pro-police, pro-military, very nationalistic, very, very he's almost like the Spanish cookie cutter of what you would think of Donald Trump.
Yeah, he big guy on the economy.
Only a much more religious, like a guy you could think maybe actually attended a church once in his life.
But it did say that he supported secularism in the country.
Okay, so
but he was not big on preserving the natural resources.
No, not at all. He like some preservate Amazon rainforest preservation protections. He axed some indigenous people protections, and he's just like, nah, just let them assimilate.
Right?
Fuck them.
They'll be fine.
Fuck them people. They're here in our country. They can assimilate.
They'll learn or they won't. What the hell?
I mean, the funny thing is he's an immigrant himself.
Oh, is he?
He's
really?
not from
Brazil.
No. So for him to come in and be like, they can become one of us.
Oh,
It's
funny.
like, you're not from here. What are you talking about? So let's get into a little bit about his life. Like it says, he was I guess he was born in Sao Paulo, but I think his parents are Italian and German ancestry. So
Interesting.
very interesting connections there. His military profile is very interesting to me. It says in his final years in high school, he was admitted to Escola Preparatoria, the prep school, Army prep school, which he entered in 1973. He went to some military academy, graduated in 77 as an artillery officer. So he's a military officer. I think he was in 15 years and achieved the rank of captain. Says this is where it starts to get interesting. His first rise to publicity came in 1986 when he gave an interview to the news magazine Veja. He complained about low military salaries and claimed that the high command was firing officers due to budgetary cuts and not because they were displaying deviations of conduct. Now, I know you weren't in the military, but you have military background in your family. Now, if, say, your dad, early on in his military career, or even halfway through or towards the end of his military career, just decided to go to the press and was like, they're paying us shit, and the high command, they're a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, that would not go well.
How would that? How would that be received?
Discharge.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. I mean, even if they couldn't find anything to kick him out on, he would have he wouldn't get promoted the rest of his career.
Oh no, yeah,
guaranteed.
He would be shipped up to Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, he would have a red flag on his back forever, and they'd find everything adverse to slap on him for the entire rest of his career. They would push him out. If they couldn't force him out, they would push him out. Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing on his part. He had the balls to step up and be like, we can't get shit done here, so I got to go to the press.
Right.
So, I mean, I give it to him for doing that, I guess. It says, despite being reprimanded by his superiors, Bolsonaro received praise from fellow officers and wives of military men.
The wives.
Yes, the military wives, because they're equal to, they are just as much part of the military.
That's right. Yes. That's, you got to see them by their
That's
rank.
another episode. Maybe that's a bonus episode. Becoming a household name for hardliners and right-wingers who were growing disenchanted with Brazil's new civilian democratic government. In October of 87, so the next year, he faced a new accusation. The same magazine.
Wait, and just a little background. Before the new civilian politicians came in, Brazil was a military dictatorship.
Yes, right.
So and
he loved that, though.
He loved that.
He
got criticism because he did like that.
One of the things he said was where they went wrong was they stopped at torture and not they didn't go to death extremes. Like they should have been killing, not just torturing.
Not something you want caught on a sound clip.
No, but he didn't seem to care. But in 87, the same magazine, Veja, reported that with an army colleague, he had plans to plant bombs in military units in Rio de Janeiro, which is in Brazil, isn't it?
That's like a major city in Brazil. Yes.
It says after Bolsonaro called the allegations a fantasy, the magazine published sketches in which it was planned in detail. The drawings had allegedly been made by Bolsonaro. Official records unearthed by newspapers, O Estado, blah, blah, blah. I can't read all this Brazilian stuff. Detailed the case. After an investigation by an administrative military bureau named the Justification Board, Bolsonaro was unanimously considered guilty. According to this board, Bolsonaro had a serious personality deviation and professional deformation, lack of moral courage to leave the army, and lied throughout the process. So they're like, dude, he just won't like own up to it and if you don't like us, just fucking leave. He won't leave.
Yeah.
He just won't leave. And he lies a lot. When he denied frequent contact with the Veja. The Supreme Military Court then analyzed the case. The general in charge of reporting the case voted to acquit Bolsonaro, arguing he had already been penalized for the initial Veja article where he talked shit about them.
Right.
And there was no testimonial evidence of his plans to plant bombs. And there were deep contradictions in the four, blah, 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 blah. So there wasn't enough evidence
Right,
to get
got
him
it.
on the bombs.
Yeah.
And he's already been punished enough for the initial article. But still, the military fucking hates his guts now. So in 88, it says just after the ruling, he finally left the army. He's finally like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm gone.
Yeah. And they're like, yes.
Now, 15 years, he left at the rank of captain. I'm not sure what the ranks are down there, but
Yeah.
15-year captain,
Right.
that's
not very good.
no,
Yeah.
that's an 03 in Marine Corps terms. I don't
Okay.
know. In the Navy, it's higher,
Yeah.
but I don't know what their rank structure is down there. But I don't know. Maybe that's like the top dog.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
Seeing
yeah.
his military career,
Yeah.
I doubt.
My guess, he didn't make it past captain after he did the initial article.
Yeah, he probably didn't. He might have got demoted.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, that's possible.
And never again got promoted. So then he went on to politics. He became councilor of Rio de Janeiro in 88. So immediately after, he became a city councilor in the city that he planned to
blow up.
bombs. Yes. In 1990, he was elected as federal deputy for Rio de Janeiro for the Christian Democratic Party. He served 7 consecutive terms from 91 to 2018. He has been affiliated with several other Brazilian political parties over the years. Says his name was listed on the Lista de Furnas, a list detailing a money laundering scheme where money was funneled through the state-owned electricity company to political campaigns. So right off the bat, almost it seems, during his political career, he went straight for the money laundering.
Yeah.
He got right on that list quick. In his 27 years of service, he put forward 1 constitutional amendment and at least 171 bills, 2 of which became law. Bolsonaro, who claims to be persecuted by the left wing, said most congressmen do not vote according to their agenda, but by who the author of the bill is. In 2018, he abandoned the Social Christian Party and switched to the Social Liberal Party. For whatever reason, they find that he is a liberal person based on all the liberal things we've told you about him.
Unless it just means different things down there.
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not quite as left wing as the super liberal parties. Maybe they're more centrist liberal parties.
So it's the Social
Liberal Party, or the PSL is what they call it. On July 2018, he was nominated by the PSL, or the Social Liberal Party, to be their presidential campaign. The Brazilian Labor Renewal Party also endorsed him. So the Labor Renewal Party seems pretty liberal too, though.
Yeah. So the Social Liberal Party is a far right political party in Brazil that merged with the Democrats.
Far right? I had seen that he made the Social Liberal Party far right.
Okay. It merged with the Democrats and founded the Brazil Union. Founded in 1994 as a social liberal political party, the PSL has registered on the Superior Electoral Board. Yeah, so that's kind of crazy. Ideology: Brazilian nationalism, conservatism, economic liberalism, federalism, national conservative, right-wing populism, and anti-communism.
So he went on. You said anti-communism?
Yes.
So on his platform. So these are some of the things he said while he was campaigning.
Okay.
After the first round, so they go through these kind of primaries and secondaries and stuff like that. After the first round, when his victory looked certain, Bolsonaro agreed or gave a speech by video link to thousands of supporters who gathered at Paulista Avenue in Sao Paulo. In this speech, he threatened to arrest, purge, or kill Reds and Petrolas, a derogatory term for the Worker Party members. So he threatened to arrest, purge, and kill communists.
Wow.
So he started out kind of reasonable, they said. And then after it was pretty certain he was going to win, he comes out. He's like, now that I have your attention, my plans are actually to kill communists. And they're like, oh, okay, cool.
All right, we're done with that.
He promised members of the social movements, MST and MTST, would be treated as terrorists. He said, I got to say this with almost a Trump voice. This time the cleanup will be even greater. The group of Reds, if they want to stay, will have to abide by our laws. These Red outlaws will be banned from our homeland. Says either go overseas or they'll go to jail. He tells them to get to the edge of the beach. Now, doesn't it sound like Donald Trump
Yes.
narrating.
Yeah.
I can see Donald Trump reading the autobiography
Yeah.
of this guy, of Bolsonaro.
What? This guy's great. I love him. He's like the bestest.
He's like the best, the biggest, the bestest in all of the Brazilians. And I know lots of Brazilians. I have all kinds of Brazilians.
Actually, this tan is Brazilian.
Yes. Most of my entourage of lady friends are Brazilians.
At least that's what they tell me when they wax.
Bolsonaro won the runoff after claiming that he was going to kill communists and was elected as the 38th president of Brazil. So
That'll
would you
get
believe?
you elected here?
Would you believe that after that people started calling him a Nazi? Would you believe it?
Okay.
It talks about a historian at the New School of Social Research who specializes in fascism wrote, Bolsonaro's vocabulary recalls rhetoric behind Nazi policies of persecution and victimization. But does sounding like a Nazi make him a Nazi? In so much as he believes in holding elections, he's not there yet. Until he's like, just wait till the next election.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't do him in anything but a Donald Trump voice. Apparently, at some point, during the election, he was stabbed.
Oh, wow.
He was
missed
stabbed
that
during
part.
his campaign. Yeah. He was stabbed in the abdomen in 2018 while campaigning and interacting with supporters, but somehow he managed to still win the election. Even I think the stabbing probably
I was going to say that probably helped.
Yeah,
People were
because he's probably like, it's all the communists.
it's the
all
swamp. The swamp. It's the
Yes.
deep state.
Yes. They came for me and I prevailed. I wish I could do a Trump accent or a Trump voice with a Brazilian accent.
There you go.
I can't do that though. That would be
would take
really
talent.
difficult. It says his son tweeted about his father's condition. So you think Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah.
tweeting about his. At first they're like, oh, it was superficial, and then like, oh, this is really bad, guys, and then somehow he managed.
It would be mortal wound to most men,
but not to Bolsonaro. The first federal police investigation into the attack concluded that the attacker acted alone, but the investigation leaves out many issues. Apparently, a medical report produced by the second investigation concluded that the man, this Bispo guy, I can't find his first name, he was mentally disturbed, having a permanent paranoid delusional disorder, which, according to Brazilian law, prevented him from being considered legally liable for the actions. So he was never.
He lives to stab again.
He lives to stab again. Yes. So that's his election campaign, his first one. He hates immigration, specifically, I guess, from like Africa and Haiti, I think. Like he doesn't like and the Middle East, and he calls them like the scourge of the world, kind of similar to Trump calling them like the shitholes of the world.
I'm curious if he actually does, or if they are just misconstruing his words like they did with Donald Trump's.
I don't know. I'm just reading from here. His personal motto is "The truth will set you free." His presidential campaign was Brazil first, or Brazil over everything, God over everyone. Something like that. It doesn't roll off the tongue like "Make America Great Again."
Yeah.
But
he needs Braga.
It's definitely very nationalistic. He's a very nationalistic dude.
Yeah, I get that.
Let's get into, because he had some scandal stuff.
Yeah.
So, during his presidency, starting out, let's get back to it. Let's get off the screen. I'm just going to talk because I don't want to read. During his presidency, though, he came in and he kind of revitalized the economy starting out. So his popularity kind of went really high. Then the pandemic hit, and he was very like against all the
masks and the vaccines and all that good
vaccines,
stuff.
the masks, the shutdowns, all that stuff. He's like, he considered it just the flu.
Yeah.
Didn't want anything to do with it, and obviously that got a red flag on his back again.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm trying to find the pandemic part because this is so freaking long. Give me just a second.
Yeah, and it's funny how much it mirrors Donald Trump's.
Right. My button's working.
Except for he did not tell people to try horse medicine. So
He didn't tell them to inject bleach into their system
Yes.
either. Says in 2021, Bolsonaro's approval rating fell mostly due to the government's response to COVID-19 pandemic, vaccination controversies, and the concurrent economic crisis that evolved under his watch. There's got to be, oh, here we go. Throughout COVID-19 pandemic in Brazil, Bolsonaro and his administration were accused of downplaying the crisis. Remember hearing that about Donald Trump?
Oh, yes.
While the number of Brazilians infected by the virus climbed exponentially by mid-2020. Bolsonaro claimed COVID-19 is no deadlier than the flu, and his priority was the nation's economic recovery rather than health crisis. So he's like, our economy's doing great. I don't want to bring that down with this whole pandemic bullshit. And in fact, as early as 2021, the Brazilian economy was bouncing back, albeit somewhat slowly and inconsistently, as the pandemic was still threatening to undo any economic recovery. In 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, Bolsonaro's approval rating showed signs of recovery, reaching the highest level since his inauguration. But that started going down once people were dying and people started pushing this narrative that, hey, you're killing people.
Yeah.
And because, would you believe they called to impeach him over his handling of the pandemic and
I do believe
tried
that.
to charge him with crimes against humanity because of
Yes.
deaths that occurred. Does
That
that sound familiar too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Although,
go ahead.
although I do think that they had gotten him on a possible money laundering thing.
Oh, they did.
With vaccines.
Oh, they did. That's what I was going to
yeah.
get
Okay.
to.
Okay.
Now, the fun part about that is
Yeah.
later on, they called it Vaccine Gate in July of 2021. Turned out he didn't buy like the Pfizer or the biotech,
Yes.
the American made.
He bought the cheap shit.
He bought this India version that was like a little more controversial. It wasn't approved by the WHO and shit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he bought it not through direct buy from India. He bought it through Singapore and paid 10 times what India was going to charge him for it. So say they're going to charge like $1 million. He paid $10 million. So where did that other $9 million go?
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like a massive money laundering scheme.
Yeah.
And this only dedicates like one sentence to that whole thing. It's like this thing called Vaccine Gate, where he paid 10 times more than the India government actually asked for. And that's it. It's gone. And where do you think the money went?
Well, I think it's paying for his trip in Florida right now.
Probably. I'm sure he's greasing some wheels with that shit.
Yeah.
Very small paragraph to say so much shit that's more interesting to me than anything else he's done.
Yeah. Anything else to deal with the vaccine or the COVID, that's the most interesting part in it all.
Now, there's this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, actually labeled him Person of the Year.
That's interesting.
And that's not a good thing, like it sounds like. It's actually them saying he is like the most corrupt of the year.
Oh.
They're like, it's an award saying he's aligned himself with organized criminals and corrupt people. Like everybody in his inner circle is corrupt, basically. So what do we think about this guy so far?
Yeah, I mean, he sounds like a very Trumpian politician.
Very nationalistic.
Yeah,
mindset.
nationalist, somebody who's riding the populist wave. He seems like an opportunist who kind of, I mean, he just rides the wave.
Right.
So, I mean, other than that, he doesn't seem like anything real special.
But like you said, he was very pro like military dictatorship.
Yeah.
He like praised it at its highest level.
Right.
At one point, he had like a last minute tank parade. You remember when Trump talked about having his tank parade, military parade, and everybody's like, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Only military dictators do that.
But this guy was like, yes.
This guy did it, but he did it. It wasn't even planned. It was just like, just drive the tanks by. Let's see the tanks. Then it was like a military tank parade, and everybody's like, that's a little fucking weird. So I don't know. Just any person that comes up and is like, even if like we strongly disagree with the far left.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if a president were to get up and be like, anybody on the far left is going to get arrested or killed, I'm going to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Red flag.
Slow down.
Yeah. Right.
Slow your roll now.
Right.
Nobody was talking about killing.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
some people were, but we weren't. When we say we were against those people, we weren't saying let's fucking kill them.
Yeah. Right. Right.
We weren't saying let's
torture them.
Yeah. Push them into the ocean or whatever he was saying. we just didn't agree with them.
Yeah.
Come on now, slow your roll.
Yeah.
Now this guy, like and I don't know how many of these statements are true or just
Right.
like people
Taken out of
trying
context,
to
like very good people on both sides type
yeah.
thing.
Well, like they painted the Italian lady as
Yeah.
a
Right,
like a
right.
fascist and a Nazi
Yeah.
and shit. But this guy actually seems to have the most evidence against him of being a fascist.
Yeah. No,
Of
I would
all
agree
the
with that.
people that they
Yes.
label fascists, this might be one
Yeah.
that I can be like, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
this guy's just
Kinda
being
like a-
anti-immigration is
Yeah.
not fascist. Just being
Yeah.
nationalistic is not fascist. But saying let's fucking kill all the communists, that's a little bit fascist. What were you saying?
Oh, kind of like a traditional like Latin America strongman type.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
probably what he's going for. He's
Yeah.
like, we need to bring back the true strong order of Latin America
Right,
that
yeah.
we are known for. And people are like, we're trying to get
Yeah,
trying to
right,
get rid
right.
of
This is
that.
the 20th century.
Yeah, all the communist uprisings that really
Yeah.
made things shitty for everybody. They were in response to what you were talking about. Can we find some happy middle ground here? So let's get into Lula.
Lula.
We got a few more minutes till break, but I want to get through both of these guys because neither one of them has a clean nose by any stretch.
no.
This guy's been arrested multiple times.
Has he?
Yes. And he's also a former president too. Did
Oh,
you know that?
really?
Yeah.
I did
so
not.
so he was 2 presidents or 3 presidents
Before Baldwin.
before the other guy. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So Lula, I'm not even going to read his name again. We're just going to call him Lula. Known mononymously as Lula, is a Brazilian politician. He's a trade unionist and a former metal worker who served as the 39th president of Brazil from he's serving now
Yeah, it's the
since
39th.
2023, but he also served as the 35th from 2003 to 2011.
Oh wow.
So he did 2 terms, I think. Says he's the first Brazilian president to have been elected to a 3rd term in office and the first to have defeated an incumbent president in an election. At age 77, he's the oldest president at the time of inauguration. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Says he's a working class man and he's the oldest president at time of inauguration.
Is he from El Scrantino?
El Scrantano? He migrated, so he's from Pernambuco to Sao Paulo, so it sounds like he's a little bit of an immigrant himself.
Yeah.
Began his career as a metal worker and a trade unionist. During the military dictatorship that the other guy so heavily praises, this guy was organizing labor strikes during the military dictatorship. So they were, even back then, they were like
opposed.
on opposite
Yeah,
ends.
that's
It's
very
like,
funny.
I really love the military dictator, and this guy's like, fuck your dictator. Let's
Power
go
to
on
the
strike.
people.
Yeah, power to the people. Well, exactly. Says Lula was one of the main leaders of Direitos Já movement, which demanded democratic elections. In 86 Brazilian legislative election, he was elected as a federal deputy in the state of Sao Paulo with the most votes nationwide. He ran his first major campaign in 89 Brazilian presidential election. So he ran for the first time in 89 and ran every time again for the rest of the 80s and 90s until he finally won in 2002.
He is like Biden.
He is. He won the 2002 presidential election, defeating Jose Serra in the 2nd round. He was reelected in 2006, beating Geraldo Alckmin. That doesn't sound Brazilian either.
Yeah.
In the 2nd round. Described as left-wing, his first president, which coincided with the first pink tide in the region, that sounds weird, was marked by the consolidation of social programs like Bolsa Familia and Fome Zero, leading Brazil to leave the UN's hunger map. So he was all about the social programs. He socialized like the food and the medicine and shit like that. It says poverty, inequality, unemployment, child labor rates all fell significantly, and the federal minimum wage went up. So definitely kind of more of the social social liberal type.
Right.
So, I mean, it sounds like he was doing good things for the most part. It says he was considered one of the most popular politicians in the history of Brazil and one of the most and one of the most popular in the world while he's president. So everybody was on his jock while he's president because, I mean, like I said, they were finally removed from like the world hunger list.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is that's not a list I don't think your country wants to be on.
No.
It's like,
yeah, that's not
you're
yeah.
on the hunger list. And so one of his accolades was getting off of the world hunger list. So I guess, I mean, kudos to him. I don't know. Like, I strongly oppose socialist programs and communist programs, but I guess when they're actually working towards good things, which a lot of times you don't see the benefit that comes out of it because
you're right.
The money gets funneled to the wrong places and humans get involved. And I've said before, communism works great on paper, but you get people involved and they fuck it up for everybody.
Yeah.
Sounds like this guy may have been moving sort of in the right direction with it, at least making positive strides while he was president.
Right.
Says after his first presidency, he remained active in the political scene and began giving lectures in Brazil and abroad. In 2016, he was appointed. It just talks about a bunch of stuff he did. But in 2017, he was convicted on charges of money laundering and corruption in a controversial trial and sentenced to 9.5 years in prison. So he was basically, let's scroll down to, it talks about his political career, the elections. We don't need to, I mean, he was
obviously
president.
He didn't do the time though.
No, because that's what I'm scrolling down to.
Oh, gotcha.
Man, there's so much shit here. Operation Car Wash is what it's called.
Okay.
In April 2015, the Public Ministry of Brazil opened an investigation into allegations of influence peddling by Lula, which alleged between 2011 and 2014, he lobbied for government contracts in foreign countries for the Odebrecht company and had also persuaded the Brazilian bank to finance projects in Ghana, Angola, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic. In 2015, Marcelo Odebrecht, president of Odebrecht, was arrested on charges that he paid politicians $230 million in bribes. 3 other company executives were also arrested, and as well as the chief executive of Andrade Gutierrez, another construction conglomerate. So he was paying these corporations he was getting kickbacks for giving these corporations government contracts.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Like upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes.
What was his son El Huntaro hoping to
El Huntaro Bidano? I don't know.
Yeah.
Beto says the country of Brazil is manipulated by the USAID, the CIA, and the State Department.
I believe all those things.
Yeah, we mentioned that at the beginning. We're like, you think the NED's involved? You think the CIA, which the NED is the front for the CIA.
I'm sure the NED probably went to Lula and be like, look, you're really popular before, we can get you in again. We just got to get Bolsonaro out.
Yeah. And then we're going to stage this coup too.
Yeah, right. To make it, just to seal the deal that Bolsonaro can't run again.
Right. So he got arrested. It went at the lower level courts. Then it was appealed to the appellate courts. Then it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And basically the Supreme Court said, ruled that it was just going to get annulled because the people that presided over it originally did not have the jurisdiction to preside over it.
Oh, shit.
So everything that was brought before him in the lower courts was inadmissible for the Supreme Court. So they just annulled it. They didn't say he was innocent, but it's just like, well, you can go.
Yeah.
So
that's shady.
Because of that, he is now able to still run for president because he's technically kind of sort of not a criminal, but it never was like proven innocent by any stretch or even thrown out. Or it was just like, nah, we can't try you because all that's inadmissible. And that kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah, that does.
He even brought in, because of how he was treated in prison, the short amount he was in prison, he brought in the UN Human Rights Council and got them involved in all the shit. Yeah, it was just like a big ordeal. Like he made a big ordeal of it. And I'm sure it was kind of like his stabbing moment that the other guy got.
Right, yeah.
It was his big comeback. He's like, I survived prison. He's like Martha Stewart. He's got more street cred. Like, what gives you more street cred? The prison
Yeah.
The prison time with the human rights abuses or being stabbed in the guts
By a crazy guy.
by a crazy guy. Like, I don't know. What would give you more street cred?
Yeah, I almost gotta say jail.
Well, now the other guy, Bolsonaro, can lift up his shirt and show
That's
like
true. He's got a
actual
scar.
scars.
Yeah,
He's
that's
like,
true.
look at this
Yeah.
shit.
But he
And
may have prison tats.
yeah, he might. Yeah, he's probably got like a little teardrop or something right here. You
right.
know, he's got something going on. So he was considered the world champion in the fight against hunger. I mean, he's got all these accolades too.
Right.
He's got other scandals. There was vote buying scandals. There was all these fucking scandals going on around him. So there's like vote buying scandals. There was this Operation Car Wash where he was like passing along government contracts for millions of dollars, as well as other just random other like bribery scandals too. But because he ended hunger in Brazil, he's an okay guy.
Right.
So what do we think about this one? Because we got to get to break soon. Before we got to get back to today.
Slightly better.
You think he's better?
Slightly.
I mean, maybe slightly
You didn't
less
say
fascist.
let's kill anybody.
That is fair. That we know of.
That we
He
know
didn't.
of.
I mean, he is the guy that said that brought on federal interventions
true, that's
after
true.
the protests, but
That was probably suggested by the NED.
and a lot of like he's saying he was only arrested because of his political stand. Like he was a political prisoner. He called himself because it was like his opposition was the ones pulling the strings to get him all this bribery charges. But bribery charges to politicians.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
If that's all you have against you, yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it's okay.
Yeah.
But if you come out and you're like, well, that guy is known for giving kickbacks to these corporations, like, and what's the difference between him and the other guy?
Yeah, right.
Because the other guy was the person of the year on like organized crime and corruption list, and then we got this guy that was like giving Again, it's kind of like Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Exactly.
Like they're both.
It's uncanny.
Like Donald Trump's a little like has his people that he's influencing or giving all these. Like he's got his connections.
Oh yeah.
He's a billionaire. He's got his fucking connections. And obviously Biden's got his foreign connections. Right. And
does Lula, does he have like a green agenda? Build back better.
I don't know what that is in Brazilian, but I'm sure he's part of it. He does have WEF connections. This Lula guy has strong WEF connections.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that in the second half because that to me, I feel like the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that, you know, the Bolsonaro guy was anti like pandemic response, anti like immigration, and you think it's seemingly he's against like what you would consider the Great Reset,
right?
And then you've got Lula, who is heavily involved in the WEF, so it's almost makes you wonder, did they want this guy the fuck out?
Yeah,
was he their Donald Trump that was throwing off the work, the spinning cogs, and we got to get he messed it all up for everybody the way Donald Trump came in and kind of screwed up, threw a wrench in the cogs for the globalist agenda. So we got to get him the fuck out too.
Right.
That's like the conspiracy theorist in me thinks it's that too.
Yeah.
But they're still both pieces of shit.
Yeah. But again, I mean, you know, look at every politician the U.S. has had.
They're all pieces of shit. Maybe 99.98% of the politicians are. There's a handful of them that might be okay.
Right.
Like who was the guy we had on 2 years ago? He was running for like
in West Virginia.
I can't remember his name,
but he seemed decent. Yeah.
He was supportive of raw milk, of legalizing raw milk. Look, if you're gonna put your career on the line for the freedom to drink raw milk, you're okay for the most part. That's a start, I guess.
Yeah.
But for the most part, politicians are just pieces of shit. So,
and like you said, bribery charge is just a normal day for them.
Yeah, and I don't have a dog in the fight, and I don't give a shit which one.
Right.
Like it's almost like they're like caricatures of Trump and Biden, because you got the guy that they call fascist, but is literally saying, "I want to kill fucking communists," and you got the guy that's like supposedly the liberal, but he's
Yeah.
actually like a union guy and a trade guy, and
right.
he's like fighting like labor strikes,
Yeah.
but also taking a lot of kickbacks from the
Yeah.
corporations that he's supposedly fighting
Right.
against.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, caricatures of
Yeah.
what we have up here. We are past due for a break. I want to get back to today. I wanted to touch on those two guys
Yeah.
because obviously we got to see what's going on
Right.
with these
The
people and
cast of
see
characters.
see why this is happening. So we got to get back to like the last few months and see what's going on. So we're going to get into a break. We're going to take 3 or 4 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little more about the Brazil
Yes.
insurrection.
The Hey Ocho.
Just sounds gay.
It does.
It was better when it was Hey Nueve,
Yeah.
but no, it's not.
We
Hey
can't go
Ocho.
back.
We'll be back in just a minute. Goodbye.
Have you ever thought that maybe voting, maybe all this politics constantly surrounding you is not the way to achieve freedom in your life? Hi, I'm Remso W. Martinez, and I ask myself the same question. That's why I'm on a journey to find true freedom in my lifetime. From learning about financial independence, to new ways to develop rugged individualism, to amazing guests living strange, crazy, amazing lifestyles that you've only thought might be real, but actually are. Go ahead and check out my new show, On the Run with Remso W. Martinez at the We Are Libertarians Network. You can find On the Run with Remso W. Martinez on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. You know how the internet works. Come on down and let's discover how to achieve real freedom in your life together.
Hey everybody, I just want to take this time to give a big shout out to the very first sponsor of the Break the Bell podcast. That is Goulash Media. They can be found at goulashmedia.net. Goulash Media specializes in graphic design, web design, audio recordings, video work, wedding videos, music videos, even political campaign videos. Goulash Media caters to the little guy with the big vision. You can check them out at goulashmedia.net. That's GOULASH media.net.
For you, you've got too much on your mind to be so conscious and not just believing every sorry gone away. And it's about time we address the situation and begin to get back to you. We hold a candle like vigil for your self-respect. Succession is destroyed by what you can expect to be. Faceless in between. Because I know you can handle it. To face the truth of the matter, it's still so much better to leave the light than drag it to your grave. Because you see what to make of this. How you can turn your own tables and work this. And take advantage of your failure like you plan to anyway. And it's about time we address the situation and begin to get back to you. We hold a candle like vigil for your self-respect. Succession is destroyed by what you can expect to be. The faceless in between. You're still alive, but you've been dead inside for a long time. And I understand why. But you did this to yourself. You did this to them. You don't even remember the name. Why should anybody remember you? Why should anyone give you another shot? You know the wrong. You know you deserve to be forgotten. Now you're everything you always despised. You know you should feel the Lord. It is a lie. And all this effort to cover up what you've done. We already know. We already see. Wake up and be better before you hit the back. We address the situation and begin to Time for you. You've got too much on your mind to be so conscious and not just believing every sorry gone away. And it's about time we address the situation and begin to get back to you. Hold the candle like vigil for your self-respect. Succession destroyed by what you can expect to be. Faceless in between. Because I know you can handle it. To face the truth of the matter, it's still so much better to leave the light and drag it to your grave. Because you see what to make of this. How you can turn your own tables and work this. And take advantage of your failure like you planned to anyway. And it's about time we address the situation and begin to get back to you. Hold the candle like vigil for your self-respect. Succession destroyed by what you can expect to be. The faceless in between. You're still alive, but you've been dead inside for a long time. And I have just seen why. But you did this to yourself.
All right, we're back. We always promise we'll be back, but sometimes I wonder. My earbuds aren't back though.
Oh, it's always yeah. I mean, it's always the technology part.
Yeah.
But we'll let us come back.
Yeah. See, are we going to be back this time, or are we going to get booted? Technology's a bitch. That's the problem with running a podcast. It's just like it's all technologically based. You know, I got this like light up sign that says on air
I noticed
behind
that.
me,
Is
but
that
on the
new?
screen
That's
it's
cool.
just glowing and you can't even see what it is.
Oh,
Turn the light off and see if it makes a difference.
yes,
There. Now you
yes.
can see that it says on air.
even though it's off.
I think we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Man, I thought it was clever, and then I
It
just
is.
now looked, and I'm like,
It's not on.
it's just glowing like an angel. So anyway, we are back talking about the Brazilian insurrection, which is kind of like the Telemundo version of January 6th. It's like January 6th dramatized more
Yes.
than it already was.
Yes.
It's
That's
like-
the feeling I got when we watched that video.
Yeah, it's like when you put it in musical form, how you take a movie and you put it, make it a musical. It's got to be like so much more like
Yes.
dramatic and in your face because it's a fucking musical.
Right.
So that's what this is, but in not Spanish, Portuguese.
Yes.
There you go. So, what is the Spanish Telemundo or the Portuguese Telemundo? Do they even have their own channel?
They got to.
They
got
must.
to.
Anyways, so we talked about former President Bolsonaro, former President Lula, and their backgrounds and their histories of scandals
Yes.
and money laundering and going to jail and stabbings and
Yeah.
you know, it's like they covered everything.
Yeah. Right.
Talk about over dramatization.
I'm sure there's some affairs and some illegitimate children.
Yeah, we
in
didn't
there.
even get into that.
I
Yeah,
know.
there's got to be like, you know, Bolsonaro had his own like Stormy Daniels on the side. I talked about his tiny hands, and you know, Sleepy Lula. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
call.
Right. Yeah. Right.
He has
Yep.
he has a history of showering with his daughter or something. I don't know.
Getting real
Yeah.
close and putting his hands on their shoulders.
Sniffing people's
Yeah,
hair.
yeah.
Yeah, but sniffing in Portuguese.
You know, he's got his own corn pop too. Whatever corn pop is in Spanish.
Obviously. So,
or Portuguese.
I don't know. I don't know either. So that brings us to today. So the 2022 election, their 2022 election happened like in October.
Yes.
And then immediately, like I said in the pre-show, I think this Bolsonaro guy started out before, like leading up to election, questioning the election machines, the voting machines, and saying, hey, there's going to be problems with these voting machines. I know it because I saw how they work in America. I looked
the same brand.
I looked that up to see if it
Were
was
they?
that same brand, and I couldn't find anything that said it was. I did actually find something that's like, no, they weren't such and such brand, like conspiracy theorists are saying. It's just like
they would say it is.
Yeah, like they come out and say that. So that brings us, like I said, to the election cycle, where Bolsonaro contests the election.
Yeah.
He loses by very marginal, like small.
Yeah. Like you said, enough
percentage.
that you would think they'd at least take a look.
Yeah, you would think so. So this is from Politico. It says, this is back in October, I think. It says, defeated president contests the Brazil election. So yeah, this was in 11/22. So this was like a month after the fact. Maybe it was updated or something. So it says Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is contesting his defeat in October election and calling on the electoral authority to annul votes cast on most of the nation's electronic voting machines. So that's where this gets a little dicey.
Yeah.
Like, I understand them being like, can we take a look at this? But this guy's like, none of the votes on those machines, which, like I said, was 60% of the voting machines, none of the votes on those machines should count. Like, just throw them out.
Yeah.
Is what he's saying.
Okay.
So when they say he's slightly fascista type, yeah, maybe this.
Yeah.
Along with calling for the killing of communists.
Yeah.
The throwing out of votes, that gets borderline fascist too.
I would see that. I mean, I think that would definitely raise a red flag to me.
I mean, Donald Trump did call to like bypass the Constitution a month,
Yes,
like last
he
month.
did, and that was a red flag for me.
Yeah, I was getting there too. It says he cited a software bug that independent experts have said didn't affect the reliability of the results. Do you think they'd actually come out and be like, actually, this kind of might possibly, even if they said possibly?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Could you imagine them coming out and be like, yes, we believe 60% of the vote was corrupted?
I mean, yeah, that would be pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, that would raise even more hell. But we're just kind of leaving it open air, though. So we're just leaving it to the people's own imaginations instead. Such an action would leave Bolsonaro with a 51% of the remaining valid votes. So, I mean, that makes sense. Like, you throw out 60% and I got 51% of the votes and I win. I mean, you think he'd say the same thing if you throw out the 60% and he still lost? You think he'd still say, no, he'd still keep hashing. He'd be on the phone. He'd be like, find me 60 million votes now. Sound familiar? It says a re-election victory. It says, hang on. Says such an action would leave Bolsonaro with 51% of the remaining votes and a re-election victory. Marcelo de Bassa, the lawyer who filed the 33 pages request on behalf of the president and his Liberal Party, told reporters on Tuesday. The Electoral Authority has already declared victory for Bolsonaro's nemesis, leftist president Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. And leading politicians, including many of the president's allies, have accepted the results. Again, sounds exactly like it's like Mike Pence accepted the results, and oh shit, what's the old turtle-looking man from
McConnell?
Mitch McConnell accepted. Oh no, we're in Brazil still, guys. We're in Brazil. We're in Brazil. Oh, okay.
Mitch.
Protesters in cities across the country have steadfastly refused to do the same, particularly with Bolsonaro declining to concede.
See, that's not what I heard. I mean, I heard he didn't officially come out and concede, but I heard he came out and actually was like, I'm going to accept the terms of the constitutional election.
Now, you got to realize this was taken like right after this article was earlier on. At one point, he did come out and he'd be like, he didn't concede. Well, he never did officially concede or congratulate the other president, but yeah, he does say, yeah, I'm going to hold.
I will comply to the constitutional result. Yeah.
So he's saying he doesn't want to. So if things do get dicey later on, they're like, well, you already conceded. He can come back and be like, bitch, I never conceded. I just said I was going to follow the Constitution. If the Constitution delegates that this thing get flipped on his ass,
I'm there.
Then I'm there.
Yeah. But it's a far cry from where Trump was like, we need to throw this shit out.
Yeah. Party leader Valdemar Costa, an auditor hired by the party, told reporters in Brasilia that their evaluation found all machines dating from before 2020, nearly 59% of them used in the October 30th runoff, lacked individual identification numbers in the internal logs. So it didn't they're supposed to post its own individual ID number, serial. Right. It's supposed to serialize, put its voter machine serial number on your vote in the internal logs.
Oh, okay.
The ones that were developed prior to 2020 don't do that.
Gotcha.
It says neither explained how that might affect the election results, but said they were asking the electoral authority to invalidate all votes cast on those machines. Now I think they would have had more if they would have said, can we look at these and see if they would somehow affect the result?
Exactly.
But instead they're like, there's a flaw there, throw it out.
Yeah,
throw that bitch out.
You need to throw all these out. Throw those out too.
The complaint characterized the bugs as irreparable non-compliance due to malfunction that called into question the authenticity of the results. Immediately afterward, Alejandro de Moraes, who presides over the Electoral Authority, said the court would not consider the complaint unless the party offers a new report within 24 hours that would include results from the first electoral round on October 2nd, in which the Liberal Party won more seats in both congressional houses than any other. So basically, they're like, all right, we used the same voting machines in the first round.
Yeah.
You guys lost by a lot fucking more. If you can show the same results, if you can...
Right.
If we can take those results and these results, which might ultimately screw him over if he shows
in the long run,
And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And so they're like, all right, we're not going to hear this out then.
Yeah.
The bug hadn't been known previously, yet experts said it also doesn't affect results. Each voting machine can still be easily identified through other means, like its city and voting district, according to Wilson Ruggiero, a professor of computer engineering and digital systems at the Polytechnic School of University of Sao Paulo. Diego Arana, an associate professor of system security in Denmark, apparently, who participated in an official security test of Brazil's electoral systems, agreed. He said all that said is to identify him, identify his accolades, his credentials and stuff. He agreed.
I think it would have been best if they had a video clip of that and then going on to him. He's like,
I concur.
I agree.
I concur. Oh, it does have a quote from him.
Oh,
it does not undermine the reliability or credibility in any way. The key point that guarantees correctness is the digital signature associated with each voting machine. While the machines don't have individual ID numbers in their internal logs, those numbers do appear on the printed receipts that show the sum of all votes cast for each candidate. He added the bug was only detected due to the efforts of the Electoral Authority to provide greater transparency. Bolsonaro's less than 2-point loss to Silva was the narrowest margin since Brazil's 1985 return to democracy. While the president hasn't explicitly cried foul, he has refused to concede defeat or congratulate the opponent, leaving room for supporters to draw their own conclusions. So he's just like, probably pissy. He's sitting in his room. He's not even saying anything. He hasn't even brought it up. He's like, fuck this. I'm not talking to anybody.
I'm going to Florida.
And I'm moving to Florida, bitches. And all his supporters are like, see, he hasn't conceded. He's going to ride the victorious horse back to victory, and the military is going to intervene and bring him back to and lock her up, him up, whoever up, and bring back the great Lord and Savior.
That would be a great sitcom.
Which one? The American one or the...
No. You have a disgraced former U.S. president in Florida, and here comes a disgraced
I didn't
former
even-
Brazilian
I didn't
president.
even think about the fact he might be living in
He
Mar-a-Lago right
very
now.
well could be.
They haven't said where in Florida that I've seen.
Exactly.
He could be
Yes.
just
Could you imagine?
living it up. It's like, man, I need a place to stay.
Come on in.
Dozens of supporters gathered outside the news conference on Tuesday, decked out in green and yellow of Brazil's flag, chanting patriotic songs. Some verbally attacked and pushed journalists trying to enter the venue.
Did they, though?
Bolsonaro, whose candidacy had the vociferous support of former U.S. President Donald Trump, spent more than a year claiming Brazil's electronic voting system is prone to fraud without ever presenting evidence. Brazil began using electric voting in 96, and election security experts consider the system less secure than hand-marked paper ballots.
Oh, they're not really helping their case.
I'm surprised Politico is even saying this.
I know. Yeah.
Because somebody's going to read this and be like, what about
Yeah,
ours? And they're
I
like,
know.
no, ours are perfectly fine.
Ours are fine.
No.
Ours aren't like theirs at all.
Yeah.
Theirs are shit.
Yeah, because he's like, because it says, because they leave no auditable paper trail. But Brazil's system has been closely scrutinized by domestic and international experts who have never found evidence of it being exploited to commit fraud.
Politico is like, we actually give them all our shitty machines that don't work.
Yeah, when our auditors go looking for machines, we get rid of those machines before they get there, and we send them to Brazil. The Senate's president, Rodrigo Pacheco, said Tuesday that the election results are unquestionable.
Mm.
Now, when you just give like it's just like, nah,
Yeah. Right.
wrong,
Yeah.
wrong. It's just like, dude, like just humor them for 5
Right.
minutes at least. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's unquestionable. It's just like,
Yeah.
look, just the
2
benefit
points.
of a doubt.
It's
Yeah.
2 points. Isn't that worth looking into?
Right. It says Bolsonaro has been almost completely secluded in the official residence since October 30th,
He's pissed. He's eating ice cream.
inviting widespread speculation as to whether he's dejected or pissed, like you said, or
Mhm.
plotting to cling to power.
Ooh,
Doesn't
of
that sound
course.
like
Yeah.
the media with Donald Trump, which he probably was plotting to cling to power? So
He shows up. Someone knocks on the door and he comes like, and he's still in his pajamas and a robe, and he's got a full-grown beard and wearing bunny slippers.
it's like, you were only there for a week. How'd
Yeah,
you grow
I
that
know.
beard? What happened? His son, Eduardo Bolsonaro, a federal lawmaker, has been more direct.
Mm.
We also imagine Donald Trump Jr.
Yes.
coming out. We always have distrusted these machines. We want a massive audit. The younger said last week at a conference in Mexico City. There is very strong evidence to order an investigation of Brazil's election. So he's not even in the country either. In a separate report presented earlier this month, the Brazilian military said there were flaws in the country's electoral systems and proposed improvements, but didn't substantiate claims of fraud from some of Bolsonaro's supporters. I don't know. When you got people saying like even
Yeah.
the military saying,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty shitty. And you
Yeah.
got even the experts saying,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
they're not as
Yeah.
accurate as paper
Yeah.
trails, but then just be like, nah, it's
Yeah, I know.
unquestionable.
Yeah.
Unquestionable.
You'd be like, well, don't you
unfathomable.
think we should look at it? No, that has nothing to do with it at all.
No, unrelated.
Yeah.
Unrelated terms. Well, the people have been pissed since October. It's not like here. I mean, people were pissed.
Yeah.
But you didn't really see a lot of movement, except for
Right.
attempting to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. But not a lot of movement until January 6th.
Right.
But here it was like immediately.
Right.
Protests started escalating. Like people were blocking the streets, like thousands of streets. And at first it started out like sporadically. It's just like little by little, like there was like 1,000 streets throughout Brazil, and it was just like unrelated. But it escalated to it was like an organized thing where at the same exact time, thousands of streets across multiple states were being blocked in the middle of the night by these like dark hooded, like shady individuals. And
Interesting.
it makes you wonder, like, who's organizing this? Is it just
Right.
like some organic, like insurgency, like a Proud Boys
Right.
type online chat group
Yeah,
thing?
right.
Or is there some outside, like, kind of
Yeah.
coordination going on here? Because it just seems weird how it escalated so quickly from just like basically nothing to like, these are organized, like
Right.
timely very planned out, very specific events going on.
Right.
And then that turned into like fire bombs and Molotov cocktails, and like it just kept escalating from there.
Wow.
So like this one talks about the protests escalating. It's this is from pbs.org, and this one was from November 25th. So this is when it really was starting to escalate. Let me see if I can get my screen back up or down. It says it says a federal judge ordered. Okay, it talks about two men sitting in a bar November 21st, sipping drinks for relief from scorching heat of Brazil's Mato Grosso state, when police officers barged in and arrested them for allegedly torching trucks and an ambulance with Molotov cocktails. One man attempted to flee and ditch his illegal firearm inside their pickup truck. Officers found jugs of gasoline, knives, and a pistol, slingshots, and hundreds of stones.
Slingshots?
Now, you've got pistols and knives, and then you opted for hundreds of stones and slingshots. Now, that seems a little inconvenient to carry around hundreds of stones and slingshots. But maybe, I don't know, maybe one guy was like, I'm not going with full-blown guns. I don't want federal charges here.
Yeah.
I will opt for my slingshot. Have you seen me with a slingshot? Federal judge.
Grab me the rocks.
Yes. You'll be my ammo man. You're my rock man. Federal judge ordered their preventative detention, noting that their apparent motive for the violence was dissatisfaction with the result of the last presidential election and pursuit of its undemocratic reversal. For more than 3 weeks, supporters of Bolsonaro refused to accept his narrow defeat in October's election, have blocked roads and camped outside military buildings in Mato Grosso, Brazil's soy-producing powerhouse. They also protested in other states across the nation.
Wait, none of these had to do with the World Cup and the fact that Brazil lost pretty quickly?
Yeah, I was wondering like where the maybe
because I had seen on like some of my friends' feeds like World Cup party time, woo, parades, yay,
Molotov cocktail parades.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
blocking roads, woo.
Maybe the media is like taking footage of all these like you know sports players or sports fans who get out of hand and like flip cars and shit, and they're taking that's what the videos you're actually seeing is sore losers of the Brazilian World Cup team losing.
Like, look, they're all wearing the colors of Brazil.
They did say that a lot of them wear the soccer jersey, and like how Proud Boys wear the Hawaiian shirts. They are known for wearing the soccer jersey. And so
it's like
interesting you bring that up.
Yes.
Like maybe a lot of this is them just really fucking pissed that they lost the World Cup. Who'd they lose to?
I don't remember. I don't know.
But yeah,
I know they take it serious though.
When you say that these people are known to wear, these protesters, these terrorists are known to wear these world. It would be easy to just get a bunch of footage of sore losers and blast that all over social media and look at all this social unrest because of the election, and you see like down with France or something like that on it.
Yes. Let's see.
Interesting. Bolsonaro has not disavowed the recent emergence of violence. He has, however, challenged the election results, which the electoral authorities president said appears aimed at stoking protests. While most demonstrations are peaceful, tactics deployed by hardcore participants have begun concerning authorities. It talks about
they lost to Cameroon in December 2nd, and then they tied Croatia December 9th. December 2nd, December 9th.
All right.
So
it says the state prosecutors comparing their actions to that of guerrilla fighters, militia groups, and domestic terrorists. Mato Grosso is one of the nation's hotbeds for unrest. It says they're like really focusing on this like soy produce tycoon who supported Lula. So they're like, that's why they're like blocking like the soybean traffic and stuff like that, because this tycoon like supported Lula. Road blockades and acts of violence have been reported in the states of Rondônia, Paraná, and Katrina. What?
Oh, someone put Bolsonaro. If Brazil had won the World Cup, this wouldn't have happened.
It's true. I think you're onto something here. All this, none of this has anything to do with election results. Like people are watching us like flip on like CNN and
Yeah.
stuff down there in Brazil, and they're like, "Wait, election? Like what
Right.
election?
Yeah,
It's
there's an
World
election
Cup.
going on.
It's World Cup season. What are
Yeah.
you talking
You
about?
can't have an election in the same year as a World Cup.
It's like contested election result.
Yeah.
No, we lost the football match.
Yeah.
Football. Police also noted that the roadblocks over the weekend were different from those carried out immediately after the runoff election, when truckers blocked more than 1,000 roads and highways across the country with only isolated incidents. Now, most acts of resistance are taking place at night, carried out by extremely violent and coordinated hooded men, acting in different regions of the state at the same time, Federal Highway Police said. The situation's getting very critical. Whoever doesn't shut down suffers reprisals, he said. So that was November.
Okay.
And then in December, they escalated it to like attacking police headquarters. I don't have that one.
I think they need to talk to Victoria Newland.
Right. Well, I think they have talked to him at Victoria. I think that's the whole
That's
thing.
the problem.
Yeah, but it escalated to like mid-December. They were like attacking like the federal police headquarters. So they were already attacking federal buildings. So like I said, they went one step further than the J6 guys because they started attacking. I dropped my notes. I dropped my notebook. They started attacking federal buildings early on.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't just like one day, one federal building. It was, hey, let's attack all the federal buildings. Let's spread it out over a couple months. And then that turned into yesterday where they were attacking like the three building front.
Right.
So let me find my spot since I totally dropped my notebook.
But and again, it's they try to like compare it to J6, but it's like this was a little bit more violent than J6.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this was actually something that maybe people should be concerned about.
Right. Yeah.
But the
along
thing
with the firebombing, the police station, and the blocking the roads.
It's interesting. I read an article that's like, yes, there are comparisons, but this is not the same as January 6th because nobody has died in Brazil.
Oh God.
But 5 people were killed on January 6th. And there's more reason to believe that Bolsonaro did not provoke this one because he wasn't even in the country, but Donald J. Trump was standing on a podium calling them to action, saying we need to fight like hell.
Right.
So he actually, like, there is more evidence to say that Bolsonaro didn't lead this than Donald Trump, who clearly did lead this.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the J6 people were trying to directly intervene with the where the certification of the votes.
Oh yeah.
When at least the Brazilians waited till after the certification. It wasn't like they were trying to overturn the election. When that's clearly like all the protesters, from what they say, are calling for military intervention to remove Lula from office, to go in and like stage a coup. Like they're trying to make it sound like January 6th was so much worse because 5 people fucking died. And it was directly trying to impede with the election results when they at least waited till after the fact. But no, these guys are saying, hey, let's get the fucking military in here. Let's have an actual coup. Let's remove this bitch. Let's put our guy back in office. You know, the things that Q said was going to happen online.
Yeah.
But nobody at like the public actually wasn't really like calling for that. It was just like Q was like, hey, the military is going to go in and they're going to arrest Joe Biden. And they're going to reinstate.
Right.
And people are like,
yeah,
when's this going to happen? We're watching and waiting, but nobody was.
Just wait.
I'm
Trump's
sure
coming in. Trump's coming.
Yeah, they were saying it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But there wasn't a ton of people that were like, we need the military to roll on those. I mean, maybe they were.
Yeah.
We're just not in those groups of
be.
people.
I mean,
maybe they were.
It's possible. I know I had a friend that's a big Trump supporter, and he was constantly like, just wait. Trump's going to overturn their tables. He's coming in.
I had a lot of people, several friends that said that, but none of them at least had the balls on social media to say, we need the military to go in and fucking take him out.
Right.
They said it's going to happen. Just wait. They're about to do it. But they weren't like, we need this to like, hey, military, let's do it. I mean, we had read earlier on in the episode, a little bit ago, that they were causing the disruption to spark a response from the military. So they would have more reason,
Yeah.
So they were actually trying to do themselves what we over here are like, well, Q's got this under control. We
Right.
got this secret guy and this shadow thing
Right.
going on that's going to do the work for us. We don't have to spark military uprise. Q is going to do that for us. Like, we're just fucking lazy Americans.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
We're
We're always
problem.
looking for someone else to do it.
Yeah. In this case, it's an imaginary, like, anonymous guy online. So
did you see this? I sent it to you. It's from Brussels. It's the European Parliament in Belgium.
I didn't get there.
So it shows a bunch of people, and it says fascism unleashed. And then it says in Brazil, supporters of former President Bolsonaro have violently attacked institutions such as the Parliament and Supreme Court. This attempted coup against the progressive government, a Lula official, is an attack on democracy everywhere.
Of course.
Europe must respond
everywhere.
Europe must respond in the strongest terms with solidarity and full support for the Brazilian people and their democracy.
So we need to send in
troops,
Victoria.
It sounds like
Nunes.
Yeah, Victoria Nuland. Yes,
Newland. Yeah.
Yes.
That.
What we need is Zelensky.
No, what we need.
Nobody can save democracy like Zelensky.
That is true. Or we need, what was it? Was it the UN guys that went? Where was it from? Where they went into Haiti and brought the smallpox, or it wasn't smallpox. What was it? I don't remember. But
yeah,
I can't even remember the country. We talked about them too.
I know.
God damn. It's the country that had their own Haiti incident over off of India. Remember?
Not Madagascar. Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sending their guys to Haiti and brought all the diseases.
Yes.
We need the Sri Lankans to go in,
Yes.
bring diseases to Brazil. Then we need the Ukrainians to come in.
There we go. Bring their Nazis.
Perfect. Perfect. That's
got
how
this.
we restore order.
Yes, that's how we do it. Nazis and disease.
Yes. I mean, that's the only way to do it. Nazis and disease. But the real Nazis, not the fake Nazis.
No.
So, interestingly enough, like I said, the headlines were full of this yesterday. That's all I could find anything on. Now, I went to Google this. I just Googled Brazil protests today, just to look back up the articles I was reading yesterday. And I've got, like, starting on page 1, it talks about, like, the mass arrests, like 1,500 people were arrested in all of this, which that's a lot of people in one fucking day.
Yeah.
I mean, they were still like,
they had billboards in town here.
Yeah, they still had their
people.
heads up their ass, like had no, like, were like scouting out hotels and airline cameras and stuff, trying to find, like, hacking into cell phones and shit, trying to find anybody. But Brazil's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Arrest them all. Arrest all this bit. Well, the Brazilians, again, must have had more balls because they were all still camped out and shit. And so they're like, yeah,
we own this.
Yeah, just go round all of those people up. So you Google Brazil protests. The first page you get, like, Brazil arrests hundreds after pro-Bolsonaro riots. Brazil protesters, 1,500 detained after Congress stormed. Brazilian authorities detained. So this is the first page. You got a couple, like, Brazil supporters storm National Congress at the very bottom. You go to page 2, second page. You got one from 6 hours ago, one from 11 hours ago. Then immediately it's like 4 weeks ago. I guess there's a few 3 weeks ago. It's immediately going back, like almost like it's yesterday's starting to slowly disappear from Google. Like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. This is page 3. One from 6 hours ago, then 3 weeks ago, a month ago. You think something like that, there'd be at least 5 or 6 pages full.
Especially when you have every world leader when saying something.
Every world leader saying something. Every major news source had it plastered at the top of their screen yesterday. Where did those fucking articles go?
Right.
Like, why is this disappearing?
Yeah,
and that makes it sketchier to me.
Yes.
That this shit is just disappearing off Google as we speak. I mean, it's still there, but so little of it.
Yeah.
When it's supposedly something that's so big. I mean, imagine January. Do you think January 6th disappeared to by the third page? They
had the special on this summer.
They had the what was it? MSNBC had a special on Hulu by the next day.
Yeah,
there was like a big old freaking like 60-minute ordeal about it the very next day.
The trial was going to be bigger than Top Gun.
Yes. Yeah. And so, Yeah, that I mean, if you type in January 6th, you'll still get pages and pages of like current articles talking about like today's articles talking about January 6th. But this thing is just like poof, it's gone. It makes you want like why? Like, is it because it's such a fucking rerun that they're like,
or maybe they just thought that they'd throw it out there and then get people shocked, and then they'd pull it back and not say anything else, right?
Yeah, maybe they don't want to cover like the atrocious inhumanity, like inhumane treatment those people are going to get.
Right? Yeah,
something
right.
Like that.
Yeah, tortured, thrown in the jungle.
Now, before we get out of here, I did have the WEF connection I told you about.
Yes.
And it makes me wonder if the WEF connection has anything to do with how this started, anything to do with why it's disappearing so quickly, like things that make you go, Because apparently back in 2021, not only was Brazil like vaccine agenda, anti-pandemic agenda, all that shit. Apparently some higher ups in Brazil back in 2021 were like slamming the Great Reset. Right about the time Klaus Schwab was coming out and it's like, we need to have a
when they had the children's book.
Yeah. Well, remember, he came out during the pandemic. It's like, this is time that we need to reset humanity as we know it. And we're like, whoa, dude. This is about the time we started talking about the Great Reset. And Brazil is out here like, dude, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy. Don't do that. Because it says Brazil's top leadership understands the threat of technocracy and rejected the World Economic Forum's intended Great Reset. As a result, its administration is fighting attack hornets from all sides who are trying to drive them out of power. So this was back in 2021.
Okay.
And so now they're getting all this like flack from the world stage because they're against the Great Reset. It says Brazil's Minister of Foreign Affairs said no to the World Economic Forum's proposed Great Reset agenda, telling the United Nations special concession on COVID-19 that totalitarian social control is not the remedy for any crisis. He said, those who dislike freedom always try to benefit from moments of crisis to preach the curtailing of freedom. Let's not fall for that trap. You think maybe Brazil immediately got targeted after that?
A little bit, yes.
It says on December 3rd, Brazil's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ernesto Araujo, rebuked the WEF's technocratic Great Reset of society and the global economy in a recorded speech before the special session of the UN. Although he did not say the words Great Reset or World Economic Forum during his speech, he made it abundantly clear in a tweet the following day that he was referring to the Great Reset. So he censored himself during the UN
he couldn't
speech.
say the words because he knew people would get
Like,
pissed.
You know the organization.
You know what I'm saying.
You know the thing, the resetting thing that I'm referring to. You know. And then the next day they're like, I wonder if he was talking about. No, he would have said it. He's like, no, I was talking about the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum, just to clear that up for all of you. It says the Great Reset is the brainchild of WEF founder Klaus Schwab, who has been planning the technocratic agenda to reset all of society and the global economy for many, many years. Brazil is now pushing back against the Great Reset. Araujo told the UN, Brazil is a founding member of the UN and hence is committed to its basic principles: peace and security, cooperation among nations, respect for human rights, and fundamental freedoms. COVID-19 must not be taken as a pretext to advance agendas that extrapolate from the constitutional structure of the UN system. The Brazilian minister went on to say, fundamental freedoms are not ideology. Human dignity requires freedom as much as it requires health and economic opportunity. Those who dislike freedom always try to benefit from moments of crisis to preach the curtailing of freedom. Let's not fall for that trap. Totalitarian social control is not the remedy for any crisis. Let's not make democracy and freedom one more victim of COVID-19. Man, he stepped in a fucking hornet's nest for sure. Like, just imagine Donald Trump saying all of those things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The flack he would get, the bullshit that he would get for saying.
They would have pulled him.
Yeah, he would have been labeled more of a fascist. Like, he thinks his own person. He's so selfish thinking American freedom. Like, how white savior complex, or how like, I don't know. You know all the phrases they give. How first world problem is he coming off right now. He's so I don't know. He would just take a lot of shit.
You would.
And I just picture that this is probably where a lot of the shit started. Like maybe after reading this stuff, like how he's opposed to the Bolsonaro guy is opposed to the pandemic shit, like the lockdowns and stuff, the vaccines, and then also like his guy here, his high up guy here is like, hey, we ain't falling for that shit. We stand for, we're Brazilians, we stand for freedom. That's what the UN was kind of founded on. And then they're like, let's make all these guys look like fucking fascists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's take this thing out of context or that thing out of context, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's time to get rid of these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can I sit here and say it's taken out of context? No, because
we don't know.
I have no idea. And if
sound
he
clip.
did say we need to kill all the communists, yes, that does sound pretty fascistic. But the WEF is more fascist, I would say, than even that.
My gosh, yes, Klaus Schwab is the very definition.
Right.
Yes.
So the other thing, so I started, so that's how I found out he was kind of anti-WEF, or the WEF now doesn't like him. So then I was like, I wonder if Lula is pro-WEF, because that kind of seems how it goes. Like, we really push hard to make this guy look like this horrible entity. And it comes out usually in our shows here that those guys were very much against the globalist agenda. And the guy that happened to step into that position or get pushed into that position is very pro-globalist agenda. And so I just Googled, and surprisingly, I could find more about Lula and the WEF than I could find on the events of yesterday, which was interesting to me. This came out in January 2010. The World Economic Forum honored President Lula in Davos in 2010 with the forum's first ever Global Statesman Award. The president, he was absent at the time because he had a high blood pressure and shit. But it says it says in a speech prepared by Lula. So this is from America's Quarterly, again, back in 2010, before we even knew what the WEF was.
Right.
Lula said, the award increases my responsibility as a leader and my country's responsibility as an increasingly active player on the global scene. On the domestic front, it highlighted achievement in economic growth and poverty relief programs. On the international side, it stressed the need to tackle global economic crisis and climate change and called for the need to establish a new international economic order. Talking about the Great Reset back in 2010, before we even knew anything about it.
Yeah, that wasn't even on our radar. The need to
establish a new international economic order, one that is more just and democratic.
Wow.
Earlier this week, President Lula attended the World Social Forum, a counter-globalization event that meets annually in Brazil on the same dates as the WEF. There, in front of over 10,000 activists, the president criticized the global financial system, saying it triggered the greatest global crisis in history through mere irresponsibility. In front of cheering crowds, Lula declared, "I'm going to Davos, just as I did in 2003, proud of what I have to say and demonstrate, with the mission of telling the developed world that if they had taken their own economic advice to heart, we wouldn't be in the crisis." So he's got all kinds of WEF connections. I mean, he's plastered on their website as like a pusher of their agenda. He's one of their boys. So we can say that he's a globalist guy. Bolsonaro is very much not a globalist.
Yes.
When you get labeled a nationalist, it's because you're against the globalist agenda. We've come to find out. So
a
lot of interesting stuff there. I don't know really what it means,
right?
But I know there's a reason why this protest is happening. I know something, and it's disappearing, which to me, I think there's a reason that it's disappearing too. But I think it's to push certain like federal policies, like federal policy changes. Like say, I don't know, impose stricter laws, because he was a big like pro-gun guy too, like a pro what we'd call Second Amendment. He was, so maybe it just like changes like certain parts of their constitution, or
Right.
they put in these, what do they call them, federal interventions that
Mhm.
like strip away some of those rights that
Right.
would possibly potentially interfere with globalist agendas.
Right.
And so we got to push, and nobody has ever actually even come out and said Bolsonaro caused any of this rioting
Right.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Not at
He
all.
could have had nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah.
He didn't even come out and say, I won the election, bitch. No, he refused to even
Yeah.
say that. He just
Yeah.
was quiet.
Yeah.
He
yeah.
was just probably pouting in his room.
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely. The most, like I said, most I saw was he said, "I will comply with the Constitution,"
and
and he left.
we could have, we being like,
The articles I read today, most of them blamed Trump more than they blamed him.
well, just think like this guy loses the election. He's the nationalist guy that the global order hates. He goes and pouts and doesn't say anything, moves into Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump.
Batching
and
it.
then they're like, well, that guy's gone.
Yeah.
Let's get all these guys like all riled up
Yeah.
and pissed off and protesting and make them think it's for this cause when it's not. It's for our cause.
Right.
But he's not here. Like we can make him the scapegoat because he's not
Absolutely.
even here to defend himself.
Yeah.
So clearly this is that fascist guy playing Spanish or Portuguese Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And in reality, it could be the NED or the World Economic Forum or even the Sri Lankans coming in and stirring
Right.
shit up and causing disease.
And here's your other thread here. This is from January 6, 2021.
Oh.
National Endowment for Democracy grantee combats disinformation in Brazil during this pivotal year.
Based on, I totally missed this one.
So apparently they gave $90,000 to the Institute of Technology and
It's not very
Equity.
much.
I know.
$90,000 in Brazil goes a long way, though. That's like
Yeah,
$90
right.
million in Brazil.
So to he said their work with the IT&E understood right away the importance of having well-developed virtual seminars and managed to produce them very quickly. Their work with electoral authorities was key to mitigate the impact of potential disinformation campaigns, which were a major problem in 2018 elections. They look forward to work in the next election. At this pivotal time for Brazil's democracy, the IT&E directors explained the Institute of Technology and Equidad will continue to work very hard to share knowledge with the various actors in society concerned with the impact of disinformation on the democratic process, and to support the strengthening of processes that seek to reduce and avoid these imbalances, always in search of a society more just, ethical, equitable, and democratic.
Well, I think it's fair to say that it's probably all fucked.
I would agree with that.
I mean, we got
Yeah.
WEF actor Lula.
Yeah.
We've got the NED, like, let us help you out with your election, especially your next election, guys. And we can quote unquote, combat disinformation. And it's funny how money starts getting thrown at all this to combat disinformation, and unseemingly there's so much more disinformation flowing out there.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, right? It's like we gave $90,000, which again would probably be like $900,000 in Brazilian money, to combat this, and it's just like willy-nilly running rampant disinformation out there. It's like, who's actually spreading this misinformation about the voting machines and stuff? Did Bolsonaro actually come out and say this, or was there like some leak?
Right.
The NED's like, oh, I heard there was voter fraud in like your voting machines. I heard, hey, did you hear that there's some irregularities? And somebody's like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who'd you hear that from? Oh, I think I heard it from Bolsonaro himself.
Imagine a couple guys on the street in jerseys be like, hey, this is it. We're taking the building. Bolsonaro said this is it.
Yeah, there's that one guy standing in the middle. It's like, and then we're going to go down to the Capitol. And they're like, no. And then we're going to raid the entire, the altar. And they're like, no, that guy's a Fed. And he's like, who's with me? And no.
Yeah, right.
Just like January 6th. I can't remember that guy's name.
I can't either. Yeah, but I remember that. That was funny.
I don't know. What do you think of all this? Do you think it's possibly a global, like, forced uprising, what we've kind of speculated in like Haiti and Sri Lanka and here in the United States. And what were some of the other Ukraine?
Ukraine. What was the big one in Europe? Was it
I don't remember.
Oh gosh, was it Belgium? Was it Denmark? It was one of those
with the cows.
Yeah,
Cows, somewhere up north.
Yes.
Or do you think this is just about like two assholes like fighting it out, and one of them's like, no, this is I'm a sore loser. This is voter fraud in his base. And I mean, I could easily see it. This guy, I mean, he was kind of a Trump fan, and Trump was a kind of a him fan. Him looking and seeing like, well, it almost worked there.
Right.
What if I get the same rumors going around
here?
Yeah,
guys like to have the same kind of ego, right?
Yeah. What if I start spreading this the speculation against the voting machines early on, like a year in advance? So then when it does happen, and I do inevitably lose, I can say, and it wasn't like an inevitable loss. Like you said, it was like 50.5% or something like that. But when I do lose, if I lose, I can say, look, it was voter fraud, voter machines. Right. Or do you think maybe there is this possibility of this globalist push?
That's what I think. I think again, I think that they got their sights set on, maybe 2030, and they're trying to line up all their dominoes so that they can get things going the way they want. I don't know.
Now, the funny thing is, though, it's like as they push one away from the nationalist scene, another country pops up nationalist, like Italy, or what were some of the, because there was like a couple that popped up.
There was a push in Europe. There was quite a few that I thought, like 5 or 6 that popped up in Europe. One, it was Poland.
Right.
So
it's like, all right, we got this one. We're pushing Brazil over. Then Italy pops up. Like, shit. It's like, damn it.
What is
like,
wrong with you people?
Yes. So I don't know. Or maybe we're just looking for a globalist under every rock.
That could be too. I mean we tend to.
We do, but it's just there.
And everything we've read. I mean, whenever you read one of these situations, the WEF or the NED just seems to pop up.
Well, it just like reeks of that shit. It reeks of like NED.
It's their playbook.
Yeah, like they're meddling or WEF meddling or globalist meddling. So like when you see, especially when it's so cookie cutter, exactly the same. It's like, really, that's how that happened, just like that.
And maybe that's why you can't find anything else on it, right? Because it is so cookie cutter.
Remember, the NED actually had their like how to overthrow government pamphlets that they would distribute in random countries, like how to protect democracy or how to be a democratic activist. It's basically like how to stage a coup. 101 pamphlet. Here's where you start. And they would just like drop them from airplanes and like leaflets and shit.
Well, what happened is that the guy stationed in Brazil, kind of set this up, and then it started happening. And someone called me like, you got the playbook mixed up. You grabbed the one for America.
It's like, damn it. It's like, well, we can make this work. What if we attack 3 buildings?
Let's do 3.
And we spread it, and we don't do it on the day they're certifying. We'll do it like 4 days later.
Right.
We'll make it. They won't even recognize it.
It won't look the same.
And then they get
rid of it. Make sure the shaman guy does not show up, though.
Get the shaman guy out of here. He was there once already. We don't.
That would screw the pooch.
Actually, he probably was there, and then they just like
purposely took pictures. Or he's trying to get in the picture, and they're like, "Shit."
Well, they just like backdated the timestamp on the photo. Like, actually, that was 2021. It's like you just scratched the 3 out on it. What do you do? Oh, it's like have a guy dressed up in a buffalo horns and face painted national colors, not red, white, and blue. We need the national colors of your country.
Yellow and green. Don't screw this up again, man.
Yes. Oh shit. That was the American playbook. Just backdate that guy, and they won't then we'll get Politico or some news agency to be like, well, 5 people died in January 6th and nobody died in Brazil, so it's totally different. And Donald Trump was there and he was not there, so totally different, not the same playbook at all, guys. And then everybody's like, oh, clearly not the same playbook. I mean, so many parallels, but those 2 things negate everything. And the shaman wasn't there.
Exactly.
So not the same, guys. I don't know. I feel like there's some outside meddling forces.
I think so too. Yes,
especially like you see these like Black Ops type pop-ups
Yeah.
at the same exact time. It's like
right.
people aren't that organized. Like
Right.
these
Yeah.
we talked with Brandon last week, and he just the way he was talking, like that organization, the Wolverine Watchmen,
Yeah.
wasn't
Right.
this organized
Yeah.
operation. Like the key guy, the head guy, lived in a basement
Yeah.
of a store that he used to work at.
Yeah.
And he would get rides from his basement from an FBI lady.
Yeah. Right. Who was there to give him drugs and bang him.
Just to
make sure
keep
he
him in
showed
the
up every
groove.
week. Yeah, exactly.
You think they were organized
Yeah.
to
This
all
guy
over
probably
the
just
country.
wanted to sit at home and play Call of Duty.
Brazil's not a small country either.
No, oh no, no.
To have across multiple states
Yes.
these pop-up things at the
Yeah.
same exact time,
Yeah.
these hooded black guys,
Right.
because of basement guy
Yeah. Right.
organizing this shit. No, there's gotta, it sounds like some kind of black ops, like co-op or like covert op type
Right. Yeah.
stuff going
Yeah.
on.
I mean, yeah, that's even that's like some Antifa shit.
Right. Like worse
Yeah.
than I don't even know if Antifa's that organized.
Right.
Unless you're talking about the Fed involvement.
But
in
it,
that
but
too.
it definitely sounds like some like Arab Spring type shit.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny how it just keeps happening.
Yeah.
Just organically, country by country by country.
Yeah.
But the organic side of it is becoming so like cookie cutter crisp that we almost can't distinct between the two,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
two different things
But,
anymore.
but it's funny. Like you were the first person who had said anything about this to me. Usually, like that kind of shit's all over the place, and
Well,
I didn't see anything about it.
The way the headlines read, because this has been going on for months, I'm just like, what have I just been missing this? Because
Right.
it was just like, bam, again, top headline of every news article that I pulled up yesterday.
Huh.
Today, you pull up Fox News, CNN, BBC, NPR. None of them have it even on their first page at all, anything about it at
Huh.
all, except for maybe the one I saw on the first page. Wow, I can't talk now. The feds took my voice out. I got it.
Mhm.
Sorry. The one thing I did see was what's his name? What's the
Bolsonaro.
Bolsonaro, whatever. I forgot his name already. Apparently he's in the hospital today.
Oh,
He has like abdominal pains. I think they're
Oh.
taking him out. I think
I
they're going to
think so,
take him
too.
out. Before
Yeah.
he can say, I had nothing to do with this, they're going to
Yeah.
take him out, and then they're going to pin this on him and be
right.
like,
They're like, we found this note that
Yeah.
said he totally did it.
yeah, he left his he left this big long his manifesto in
Yeah,
his
right.
in his Mar-a-Lago resort room,
Yeah.
co-written by Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, right.
Shortly before his death, he
Yes.
wrote this like 60-page manifesto.
That
So
would not surprise me.
right. So, and that's the only thing I've actually seen
Okay.
on one. I think it was on Fox News, but none of the rest of them have
Huh.
anything about this. And
Yeah.
it's really bizarre to
It
me
is
how
really
quickly
bizarre.
it like came, headlines, national, like international headlines, and then it's gone. Just like that. It's like, oh, where did that thing go? That was
Right,
supposedly
yeah.
such a big deal.
Yeah, you would think like MSNBC would be all over it.
One would think so, but it's not there. At least not on the headline. So
Weird.
let us all know what you think about all this crazy shit. And I know we're conspiracy minded, and
Yeah.
we do look for global. We don't look for globalists. We just
They just
find
show
they
up.
just
They
just
show up.
they look for us. I think.
I think so too.
I mean, I do Google like President Lula WEF connection.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
Just
it's there.
to see if it's there.
Yeah,
Just to see.
right,
I
right.
mean, it's almost like every topic we talk about. You got to Google, is
Yeah.
there a WEF connection?
Right,
Is there
right.
an NED
Yeah,
connection?
is NED
something.
in Brazil?
There's got to be something here.
Yeah.
But it's not like I went like digging through articles and this is like I said, there's more articles about the connections between the WEF and President Lula than there was articles about what happened yesterday on Google when I looked them up today.
Yeah.
So interesting. So there's clearly connections there.
Yeah.
Anyways, let us know what you think. Is there something deeper going on, like some global thing going on that's sparking all this shit? Like, is this what they want? Is this response to the global agenda? Like, the people really don't want this shit.
Right,
And
yeah.
so they just happen to be uprising. Or is this just another copycat January 6th?
Right.
That just like a dramatized version, Brazilian version of
Is it
January
all
6th?
Trump's fault?
Is it all Trump's fault? That is the big question. And the
Yes.
answer absolutely is yes, because
Yes.
everything is Donald J. Trump's fault. And he
Yes.
is to blame for all the fascism in the world. Even Hitler.
Yes.
Donald Trump is solely responsible for Kanye
Yes.
West and Hitler.
You know, I haven't heard anything about Kanye in a
I
while.
have not either. I think he got
Killed.
taken out or something. I'm pretty sure. That's all I got for this episode. You got any final thoughts on Brazil?
I would say keep an eye on it.
Definitely
And,
keep an eye on it. If
see what
anything
happens to those people that see if they get disappeared.
they probably already have disappeared.
Yes.
Like the population of Brazil just decreased by 1,900 people
Right,
overnight.
yeah.
We're not sure how, but just
Yeah.
natural.
Rio de Janeiro is in lockdown. There will be no carnival this year.
Shit. Yes. As punishment for
Yes.
their
Uprising.
inhumanities, their uprising. Yes. Make sure you leave a comment. The comment section is always open, especially if you have more information about this than we have. We tried to cover it as in-depth as possible. Again, there wasn't a lot to find today, so I was digging back into, I mean, there's still plenty of stuff about the election that you can find out there and like the original protest, but not a lot out there about yesterday.
Yeah.
So if you have more information, if you have any inside sources, anybody that's on the ground, boots on the ground, you need to hit up some of your old girlfriends and shit in
got
Brazil.
some messages out there.
See what's going on. Let us know. The comment section is always open on YouTube and on Facebook and everywhere that you can hear us. There is comments. We have a Facebook forum called the Breaking the Bell Forum, which you can join and be part of the conversation. I like to spend most of my time on Twitter. So if you follow me at Break the Bell Pod on Twitter or follow Bill at BillFilter3, the third, which he's not the third, he's the second.
Wow.
So it's really weird to me.
That is really weird.
But
I think Twitter just gave it to me.
He's BillFilter3 on Twitter. So follow us there. That's where I like to hang out and be the most controversial. So if you want to hear the real spicy stuff, get there on Twitter. Otherwise, follow us all over everything, ideally. Share us far and wide. Like, subscribe, all that fun, happy shit that we tell you to do every week because that's what the kids tell you to do these days.
Right. And if you want the really spicy, check out the OnlyFans.
OnlyFans feet pics. Check it out. It's coming soon. I guarantee it. God, you derailed me. Make sure you join us for all our other shows that we do. We will be doing, we haven't done this year yet because Dan keeps fucking bailing on me.
What the hell?
The Two Scoops morning show some Tuesdays and Thursdays as we feel like it at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is where we spend 20 minutes just shooting the shit about what's going on in the world. Some of the crazy, it's usually the most outrageous stories we can find that just to keep ourselves entertained at 7 a.m. in the morning. Again, that's 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's me and Dan Smotts of the System Is Down podcast, the Two Scoops morning show. Otherwise, we will be doing, I promise we will be doing the weekend wrap up this weekend, which will probably be Sunday evening sometime around 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Or
I'm wide
whatever.
open now because the Steelers are disqualified from the playoffs. And
Steelers just lost their asses, so Bill is open and he can anxiously await for baseball season like me now. Otherwise, be back here next Monday night, same time, same channel. We will have another banger for you, hopefully, because that's what we do around here. Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.
It's a lot of practice.
You are out of practice, and I can't find my button. So
You're
let's
out of
try again.
practice, too.
Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.
The Break the Bell podcast is brought to you by you. So pat yourself on the back because without you, we would be talking to ourselves. A special thanks to our Patreon members, Justin Zielinski, Remzo Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and T.O. Jacobson. A shout out to our sponsors, Run Your Mouth Coffee, the On the Run podcast, and Goulash Media. If you'd like to help support us, visit patreon.com/breakthebell or buy our garbage at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. Get back here next week and let us continue to invade your ear holes. And as always, never stop talking.